I married Xun'er, but she refuses to consummate the marriage. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Yuan arrives. In the Warcraft Mountains, Gu Fei quietly waited for Yan to wake up, and this wait lasted for 3 whole days. During this period, Yan's breath also fluctuated, but fortunately nothing went wrong and it eventually stabilized. Gu Fei was not in a hurry. After all, the energy in this small valley was very rich. Although it was a drop in the bucket for him, it was better than nothing. The only bed was left for the motionless Yan, and he had to sit on the ground and meditate. On the 4th day, Yan finally woke up. Gu Fei opened his eyes the moment he sensed Yan waking up, and happened to meet Yan's eyes. Yan is moved, and the emotion value increases by 100. Yan saw Gu Fei beside her and understood that Gu Fei had been protecting her these days. A warm current suddenly surged in her heart and she smiled. But soon, Yan seemed to remember something. Her eyes were a little evasive, she lowered her head, and dared not look at Gu Fei again. Yan has an inferiority complex, and her emotion value increases by 100. Brother Gu Fei, these days, thank you for taking care of me. I just had a little accident when I was preparing the medicine a few days ago. Yan bit her lower lip and said in a hoarse voice. Her fingers tightly grasped the hem of her skirt, and her purple eyes were full of strange emotions, fearing that Gu Fei would discover her unbearable secret. If Brother Gu Fei really found out, would he dislike her and be afraid of her? She is simply like a disaster star. Gu Fei saw that the girl who was originally smiling suddenly became cautious, and frowned unconsciously. Of course, he noticed the change in Yan's emotions and shook his head helplessly. Who does Yan think he is? How could he dislike him? I know everything. Your physique. It's a poisonous body, right? Although Gu Fei asked in a questioning tone, his expression was very calm. Yan is frightened, and her emotion value increases by 100. Yan's eyes widened as she watched Gu Fei casually pointing at the 7-colored poison sutra that she had casually placed beside her. Yan's brain was buzzing, and she didn't dare to look at Gu Fei's reaction. This kind of physique would only harm everyone around her in the end, and even she hated it. However, the speed of cultivating the evil poison body was very fast, which could bring her strength. Brother Gu Fei, would you dislike someone like me? Are you still willing to be my friend? Yan's voice was trembling, and she whispered. Gu Fei laughed and shook his head. Silly girl, of course I won't. And of course I am willing to be your friend. No matter what your physique is, in my heart, you are still and only the kind and gentle Yan. You will always be just yourself. Gu Fei paused and continued to add, besides, based on your current realm, your poison is not a threat to me at all. Have you forgotten my strength? Or do you not believe that I can be immune to your poison at all? Unless Yan has a zong cultivation that can rival him. Otherwise, her poison will not pose a threat to Gu Fei at all. Yan shook her head violently and explained anxiously, fearing that Gu Fei would misunderstand. Yan is moved, and the emotion value increases by 100. However, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, and a warm current surged in her heart again. Although her heart knot was untied by Gu Fei's sincere words, Yan instinctively did not approach Gu Fei because she knew that her body was poisoned. Yan is worried, and her emotion value increases by 100. The record of the evil poison body in the 7-colored poison scripture is shocking. Yan doesn't know how powerful Gu Fei is. She is only worried that her poison will hurt him. Evil poison body is a strange poison body that can quickly increase its strength by swallowing poison. The way to identify the evil poison body is that there is a small 7-colored hidden line in the lower abdomen. The 7-colored line will grow with the concentration of poison contained in the body. When the 7-colored line extends to the heart, it is the strongest moment of the evil poison body. At the same time, it will also be bitten by all kinds of poisons. Below this line of small words, it also lists in great detail what kind of damage the evil poison body will cause. since Xiao Yan has chosen to remove the seal. This is a road of no return. Now her evil poison body is only in the initial stage, so when she is awake, it is nothing for Gu Fei to have physical contact with her, but once she falls into a coma, or when the poison body becomes more and more mature in the future, it will really be. Anything you touch will die. However, Xiao Yan used a smile to cover up her worries. She thought she had disguised herself well, but those emotions were faithfully broadcast by the system. Xiao Yan is worried, and her emotion value increases by 100. Gu Fei's eyes flashed, but he didn't say much, just as usual. Next, the two continued to live in this small valley for several days. Life in the small valley is really leisurely and peaceful, and Gu Fei also likes this kind of life. However, he also understands that it is impossible to live such a comfortable life without working hard to become stronger. At this time, on the other side of the monster mountain range, Xun'er is still looking for Hei Yan, but Hei Yan's itinerary is disorganized, and even if she has the help of treasures, there is no trace to find. Xun'er and Hei Yan are a little far apart, and she gradually goes into the depths of the monster mountain range to look for him. Xun'er went deeper and deeper, and at this moment, Ling Ying, who had been silent like a shadow, suddenly spoke. "Miss, not far away, there seems to be the breath of a 6th-level monster." Xun'er thought for a moment, and murmured in her heart, "It seems that I have found the wrong direction." With Brother Hei Yan's current strength, there is no way to get deep into such a dangerous place. He should still be near the periphery. The 6th-level monster is not a behemoth that Hei Yan can challenge now, so he will definitely not go forward. Xun'er plans to go back and continue to look for Hei Yan in the edge area. She looked a little anxious. After so long, she didn't know whether Brother Hei Yan was safe, and what the purpose of the ancient clan was. At the same time, Gu Fei also sensed the energy fluctuation in the distance. He thought about it and saw that judging from the violent energy fluctuation, a 6th-level monster should be enraged. The 6th-level monster has a very strong sense of territory. At this moment, it should be that someone or a monster has invaded its territory or even offended it. Gu Fei narrowed his eyes. At this time, in the monster mountain range, could it be the battle between the amethyst-winged lion king and Yuan? He vaguely sensed the source of the monster's aura. Gu Fei was a time traveler and was familiar with the plot in the original novel. Just by sensing the monster's aura, he guessed the real answer. Chapter 27. Want to be a hero and save the beauty? Originally, Gu Fei did not intend to get involved in this mess. Now that Xiao Yan has awakened, he should stay with her for a few more days to take care of her, and think about how to solve the hidden dangers of the evil poison body. However, Gu Fei changed his mind and thought that Yuan, as an important character in the original work, must have a good luck value. In fact, not to mention Yuan, even the luck of the purple crystal-winged lion king who fought against Yuan would be far beyond that of ordinary monsters. Therefore, Gu Fei did not hesitate too much and decided to go over there to take a look. However, he was worried that his sudden disappearance would cause Xiao Yan to worry, so he simply explained before leaving, "Xiao Yan, I have to leave for a while, take care of yourself." Xiao Yan feels reluctant to leave, and the emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yan felt a little reluctant in her heart, but she could only nod and agree obediently. Above the blue sky, violent energy fluctuations continued to create sounds like muffled thunder. Gu Fei's eyes were fixed on the distant sky, and he hurried over there with his breath hidden. There, the blue and red colors almost filled half of the sky. Even the lazy white clouds were rendered with 2 colors of light. A thunderous sound rang in his ears again, and Gu Fei saw that the purple light from the purple crystal-winged lion king enveloped the world. After a long time of brewing, the purple light suddenly shrank. In just a blink of an eye, the purple light in the sky was compressed into a dark purple light column of only half a foot. The dark purple light column in the sky flashed out like lightning, and the speed of the light column was extremely terrifying, almost like a flash. In just 2 jumps, it appeared in front of the petite figure in the sky. With Gu Fei's eyesight, he could see the outline of the petite figure from a long distance. The woman in the sky, a plain dress wrapped around her plump body, holding a strange-looking long sword emitting green light, with long black hair tied into a noble phoenix hair ornament. Her beautiful face looked calm and peaceful, but at this moment, because the purple crystal-winged Lion King began to use his life-sealing skills, the indifference on her face finally dissipated. Obviously, this woman is Yuan, who fought against the purple crystal-winged Lion King in the original book, Purple Crystal Seal. When the purple light flashed in the sky, the low roar of the purple crystal-winged Lion King also echoed in the mountains. The purple crystal seal touched the wind-rolling blade in front of Yuan for a moment and then dispersed it. Gu Fei had just approached, and this huge battle was already coming to an end. The purple light column pierced through the dozens of windshields arranged in front of Yuan in a crushing manner, and finally shot into her body. Then, the purple crystal-winged Lion King flashed quickly, and its giant palm slapped towards Yuan. As the long sword in her hand trembled, a thin ray of light suddenly flew out, and it actually cut off half of the sharp horn of the purple crystal-winged Lion King. Roar! Damn it! Feeling the pain, the purple crystal-winged Lion King let out a violent lion roar. Its paws, mixed with fierce and unmatched energy, chopped heavily on Yuan's chest. With a somewhat harsh metallic creaking sound, Yuan, who was hit hard, spit out a small mouthful of blood, and her cheeks turned pale. She used up her last strength and flashed continuously, and soon disappeared from the Lion King's sight. However, at this time, she was already exhausted and fainted directly. Swoosh! Coincidentally, after she fainted, the direction she fell was actually towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei was surprised for a moment, and somehow reached out to catch Yuan, who was covered in blood. Then, he hugged Yuan to cover up the breath emanating from the two of them. Little ones, find her. You must find that human woman. In the sky, the purple crystal-winged Lion King roared angrily when he found that Yuan's breath had disappeared. It sent out its subordinate low-level magic beasts to search for the place where Yuan fled. Gu Fei had already brought Yuan to the nearest cave. In the cave, there was a stone platform made of bluestone. Yuan was seriously injured. Gu Fei carefully put her down and carefully looked at the woman who dared to challenge the purple crystal-winged Lion King. Gu Fei looked at her carefully, and naturally felt a sense of amazement in his heart. It seems not an exaggeration to describe her with words such as eyebrows and eyes like a painting and eyes like skin and bones, which symbolize beauty. She has a delicate face with perfect bones and skin, delicate skin, white as snow, and black hair neatly tied behind her head. Moreover, what amazed Gu Fei the most was the grace and luxury contained in her. His eyes swept across that delicate face, and Gu Fei's eyes slowly moved down, but his brows were slightly wrinkled. I saw 5 horrible claw marks on the chest below her jade neck, with blood staining her clothes blood red. You are so badly injured. The next moment, Gu Fei took out a pill from his ring and fed it to Yuan's mouth. Gu Fei's pill was a 6th grade healing pill, and the effect was very significant. Yuan's seemingly terrible injury was soon stabilized. Although the pill is good, it will make people feel pain when the body is repairing. When the drug took effect, Yuan frowned slightly, and a trace of pain was faintly on her cheek. Although this look was somewhat inconsistent with her temperament, it was quite charming. It seems that the pill I made myself is effective. Gu Fei was relieved when he saw Yuan's expression gradually relax. However, after a while, Yuan, who had closed her eyes, suddenly opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were cold, staring at Gu Fei, and her expression was completely different from the weakness she showed when she was in pain just now. Yuan has alert emotion. Emotional value increases by 100. Who are you? Looking at the strange boy standing in front of her, Yuan asked with some doubt. When Gu Fei carried her into the cave before, Yuan vaguely woke up for a moment and took a vague look at Gu Fei's face, but she completely forgot it later. Facing the strange man who appeared in the Warcraft mountain range, Yuan subconsciously became alert. Just now, you were injured in the battle with the purple crystal-winged Lion King. However, after I fed you the healing pill, it's fine. Although the blood on your body looks scary, the wounds have stopped bleeding and are mostly healed, Gu Fei said very calmly. Hearing these words, Yuan let down some of her guard. When she wanted to get up, she found that she was very weak and couldn't use her fighting spirit. She quickly realized that this was caused by the purple crystal seal of the purple crystal-winged Lion King just now. Gu Fei looked at Yuan with a look of annoyance on her face, cleared his throat, and continued. As for the seal, you don't have to worry, you will be able to break it in 2 days. Yuan has a curious emotion. The emotion value increases by 100. Yuan was a little curious about Gu Fei at this moment, because Gu Fei looked much younger than her age. A boy of this age, not only was his strength beyond her comprehension, but he even knew such skills as the amethyst seal so well. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. Yuan. Young man, don't be too arrogant. Are you a Zhang? Thank you for your rescue just now. A sincere thank you came out of Yuan's mouth. However, Yuan was still curious about how a young man like Gu Fei could enter the dangerous area deep in the Warcraft Mountains alone to train. At this time, Gu Fei restrained his breath and did not expose his strength. If Yuan knew, she would probably be shocked. Yuan looked at Gu Fei's whole body at this time, and a trace of doubt flashed in her eyes. Yuan has doubts. Emotion value 100. Strange, what is his cultivation level? Why can't I see it at all? Yuan supported her forehead and frowned slightly. She guessed that it might be because of the seal that caused her ability to distinguish to decline. Are you a pharmacist? Yuan asked when she heard that she had recovered from her injuries by taking healing pills. Well, Gu Fei nodded and admitted it directly. Yuan instantly became interested when she heard this. He was so young and was still a pharmacist. He must have a bright future in the future. Little guy, you saved me. I can introduce you to a master of alchemy in the future. I believe it will be of great help to you. Yuan thought of Dan Wang Gu He. The two of them had a good relationship. Today, Gu Fei has done me such a great favor. I will repay him in the future. Introducing him to Dan Wang Gu He can be regarded as repaying this favor. You know, Dan Wang Gu He is a 6th grade alchemist, and he is one of the best in the Jiama Empire. No need. Gu Fei smiled and shook his head. With Yuan's knowledge, the highest level alchemist he knows is the 6th grade alchemist known as Dan Wang Gu He. And Gu Fei is now a 7th grade alchemist, so why does he need Gu He's guidance? If Gu He knew his own alchemy ability, he should ask Gu Fei for guidance instead. Seeing Gu Fei's refusal, Yuan didn't say anything else, but changed the subject. By the way, I forgot to ask what your name is. Gu Fei. Hearing this, Yuan was stunned. He didn't expect that the boy in front of him had the same surname as Dan Wang Gu He. Gu? Through this surname, she guessed that Gu Fei and Gu He had some connection. After all, both of them were alchemists, so it was unlikely that they had no connection. What is your relationship with the Pill King Gu He? Yuan asked curiously. Not even close, Gu Fei said lightly. Well, it seems that I thought too much. Yuan smiled awkwardly. I just heard from a distance that you came for the Lion King's purple spirit crystal. I guess you want to use it to refine some kind of elixir. Gu Fei asked. Well, but the Lion King didn't want to exchange it, so I had to take it by force. But I was injured by the Lion King's life-sealing technique when I was not careful. Yuan nodded, and her body was still a little painful at this time. Speaking of purple spirit crystal, he, who was familiar with the original work in his previous life, of course knew about it, so he casually said, if I guess correctly, purple spirit crystal can generally be used to refine purple crystal pills to improve the cultivation of the great fighting master realm. Are you going to refine purple crystal pills? Yes. Yuan was shocked. She didn't expect Gu Fei to know so much. Yuan has a shocked emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. She is indeed going to refine purple spirit pills for her apprentice Nalan Yanran. You are so young. What is your purpose in coming to the depths of the Warcraft Mountains? Yuan finally couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked. Gu Fei didn't keep her in suspense and directly told her the purpose of this trip. In fact, I came here this time to subdue the purple crystal winged Lion King as a mount. Purple spirit crystal is very important to the purple crystal Lion King lineage. If he is unwilling to exchange, you should not take it by force. Moreover, with your strength, you can't defeat the Lion King. Next, Gu Fei's words made Yuan a little stunned. She couldn't believe what she heard. This young man actually said that he wanted to subdue the purple crystal winged Lion King as a mount. Did I hear it right? Yuan was shocked. That was the 6th level monster Purple Crystal Winged Lion King. Yuan was shocked, and the emotion value increased by 100. Yuan hid her shock very well, but Gu easily discovered it through the system prompt. He smiled faintly. It's just a 6th level monster. What's the fuss about it? Gu didn't feel strange about Yuan's surprise, but responded with a faint smile. At this time, Gu habitually restrained his own breath. In addition, he didn't show his cultivation breath just now because he was too troublesome to avoid the pursuit of the Purple Crystal Winged Lion King. Yuan thought he was bragging. This young man, why is his tone so arrogant? However, Gu was too lazy to continue explaining anything, and walked slowly towards the outside of the cave. Seeing Gu walking out, Yuan, whose injuries had recovered a little because of the healing pills, followed him out. At this moment, outside the cave, there was chaos, and the roars of monsters were everywhere. Just now, the Purple Crystal Winged Lion King was still in pain after his horn was cut in half because he couldn't find Yuan's whereabouts. His terrifying roar spread across most of the monster mountain range. Many low-level monsters were frightened by his roar and trembled. They wanted to hide in their nests, but they were forced by the Lion King to go out and search for Yuan's whereabouts. In the original work, after Xiao Yan rescued Yuan, he couldn't block Yuan's breath in the cave because of his strength. In the end, he had to sprinkle some powder outside the cave to cover up the smell. Because those low-level monsters didn't search seriously, they took advantage of the situation to cover it up. Gu didn't need to do this at all. His strength could directly block the leakage of Yuan's breath. But when he came out at this moment, he didn't help Yuan cover up her breath. Therefore, not long after Yuan went outside the cave this time, her breath attracted a large number of monsters. Yuan finally realized what was happening. Her face changed slightly. Oh no, these monsters are the Lion King's subordinates. They smelled my breath. It seems that I will implicate you. I'm really sorry. Yuan feels guilty. Emotional value increases by 100. In her opinion, Gu is very weak. Although she is at Huang, she has not recovered completely and may not be able to protect Gu. Obviously, at this moment, Yuan still thinks that Gu is just bragging. However, the next moment, Yuan watched Gu soar directly into the air. There was nothing behind him. Unlike Yuan, who had to rely on chi wings to fly, Gu just stood in the sky like this. His face was calm, and he didn't need any help at all. Yuan was stunned. Yuan feels shocked. Emotional value increases by 100. This is Zhang. Such an incredible word popped up in her mind, and Yuan's calm face showed a rare surprise. Just a boy who looks like 16 or 17 years old can actually have such strength? Even though Yuan was considered a person of extraordinary talent in the Jiama Empire, and was admired by many people, Gu's extremely powerful talent far exceeded her imagination. Chapter 29 Xun'er. Why is Gu here? Is he here for Brother Xiao Yan? Lion King, are you willing to follow me? Gu stood in the sky, his eyelashes drooping. His voice dissipated with the wind, and the fighting spirit he exerted made the voice spread very far. The voice with terrifying pressure resounded in this dangerous area full of magic beasts. After feeling the powerful momentum emanating from Gu, those low-level magic beasts that had originally surrounded him with their fangs and claws, even if Gu did not deliberately target them, all retreated, trembling all over and dared not move forward. Every magic beast nearby, the originally ferocious pupils were full of fear. Second-level magic beast Black Hawk has fear emotion. The emotion value increases by 0.01. Third-level magic beast Ice Wolf has fear emotion. The emotion value increases by 0.05. Fourth-level magic beast Black Bear has fear emotion. The emotion value increases by 0.1. This breath, not far away, the Purple Crystal Winged Lion King also heard Gu's words. Although it had already felt Gu's powerful strength from the overwhelming momentum, however, this is its territory. It is impossible to make it retreat before the battle. Soon, the huge body of the Purple Crystal Winged Lion King appeared in the sky. It lowered its head and glanced at Yuan standing under Gu. A fierce light flashed in its eyes. Then, it aimed its eyes at Gu and spoke in human language. Human strongman, Are you also here to take my purple spirit crystal? When saying this, the Lion King felt a little uneasy. If Gu Fei stood up for Yan, then today there would be no escape from a bloody battle. The purple crystal-winged Lion King has an uneasy mood, and the mood value increases by 50. Not so. The purple spirit crystal is useless to me. Gu Fei smiled and shook his head after noticing some emotional changes in the Lion King. Hearing this, the Lion King breathed a sigh of relief, but was choked by Gu Fei's next words. I came here because I think you have decent talent and are qualified to be my mount. Gu Fei's face was calm, but he said something that made the Lion King's expression change suddenly. The purple crystal-winged Lion King is shocked and angry, and his emotion value increases by 60. What? You actually want me to be your mount? What an arrogant human. The Lion King was furious at this moment. As a magical beast, especially some high-level magical beasts, it is difficult for humans to tame them. They are born proud and will never bow their heads to humans. Even if humans are stronger than them, they will not surrender even if they die. That is why it is very rare to see living adult magical beasts on the market. Ordinary magical beasts are killed, dismembered, and then the useful parts of their bodies are taken out and sold. Those who want to buy complete magical beasts can only buy some magical beast eggs or ignorant magical beast cubs. For example, the guardian magical beasts of a large family must be cultivated from a young age, so that they will not have a rebellious heart and can be loyal to the family. Don't be surprised. When you become my mount, you will understand that this is the wisest decision you have made in your life. Gu Fei ignored the rage of the purple crystal-winged Lion King and smiled lightly. Then, he closed his eyes and released his aura completely. As soon as the powerful pressure was released, not only did the surrounding low-level monsters kneel down and tremble, but even the Lion King felt unprecedented pressure and sweated profusely. Yan, under Gu Fei's care, did not feel uncomfortable, but she could also feel the horror of Gu Fei's strength. Yan has shock emotions, and the emotion value increases by 100. The purple crystal-winged Lion King has shock and fear emotions, and the emotion value increases by 60. The third-level monster Earth-Shattering Bear has fear emotions, and the emotion value increases by 0.01. Although Yan did not feel the pressure, her face was also solemn. This is a natural reaction of the weak facing the strong. Even as powerful as the purple crystal-winged Lion King, he couldn't help but take a step back. Yan's eyes unconsciously fell on Gu Fei's back. Who is he? The aura on Gu Fei's body continued to spread outward, and a steady stream of fighting spirit flourished. At the same time, in the monster mountain range, Ling Ying, who was some distance away from here, also felt the horrible aura fluctuations. His steps suddenly stopped, and his face showed doubt. This aura. What's wrong? Ling Ying had protected her since she was a child, but she rarely saw Ling Ying's expression of shock. After all, as her shadow, Ling Ying had to remain calm enough to be competent. Ling Ying had rare emotional fluctuations at this moment. Xun'er asked in confusion. She also felt a little uneasy in her heart, but she deliberately ignored it. Ling Ying was very sensitive to this aura. Although Xun'er also sensed the powerful fluctuations, her strength was a little inferior to Ling Ying's, so she couldn't sense it clearly. She could only vaguely perceive that it was a very powerful aura. Miss, I'll sense it carefully. Ling Ying couldn't believe it and sensed it again, but he found that it was still not much different from his previous guess. He paused for a second, looked at Xun'er, and his face was a little solemn. It's the aura of Master Gu Fei. Ling Ying paused, and then answered with certainty. There was no way his perception would be wrong. Such a powerful and familiar aura could only belong to Master Gu Fei. Gu Fei. Hearing this, Xun'er was also stunned. She was very confused. Why did Gu Fei come here? What was there in such a barren place like the Northwest Continent that was worth his experience? The Northwest Continent was completely inferior to the ancient world. Gu Fei left the ancient world for experience, so it was impossible for him to give up many rich places and come to such a barren place. Let me ask, who in the ancient world knows King Shan Town, and who knows the Warcraft mountain range? Is it really such a coincidence that they just met by chance? Or could it be that Gu Fei came for Brother Yan? Xun'er had an incredible guess in her heart. She was very worried about Yan's safety, because she couldn't find Brother Yan during this period. Xun'er was very anxious. After all, Xun'er was the one who knew Gu's strength best. He was the #1 prodigy of the ancient clan. If Gu really attacked Brother Xiao Yan, I'm afraid that the mysterious strong man beside Brother Xiao Yan would not be able to resist. Xun'er bit her lower lip nervously and exchanged glances with Ling Ying. She was struggling whether to go over there to check the situation. What if that fluctuation was caused by Gu Fei, Xiao Yan and the mysterious strong man fighting? What should she do? Time is running out. Every second late, Xiao Yan might be in more danger. Xun'er no longer hesitated. Let's go find Gu Fei. Seeing this, Ling Ying simply took her and rushed to the source of the chi fluctuation. At this moment, Xun'er was very eager to find Gu Fei. However, she was so anxious to find her ex-husband not because she missed him. Instead, she was worried that her ex-husband would hurt her old lover. Chapter 30. Conquering the Lion King. Ex-husband and ex-wife meet in a different place, deep in the Warcraft Mountains. After Gu Fei revealed his aura without reservation, the originally chaotic and arrogant low-level Warcraft instantly fell silent. Even the amethyst-winged Lion King paused for a moment, with his toes slightly raised. Gu Fei took a few steps forward. It was obviously a leisurely posture like taking a walk, but after the sudden sound of breaking through the air, he instantly arrived in front of the amethyst-winged Lion King. This extremely terrifying speed was so fast that even the amethyst-winged Lion King could not react. Gu Fei stood in front of him, as small as an ant, but the amethyst-winged Lion King felt a smell of extreme danger. It was a long-lost breath of death. After he dominated this mountain range, he had never felt a terrifying threat again. The amethyst-winged Lion King feels fear, and the emotion value increases by 50. The feeling of accelerated heartbeats made the Lion King's scalp numb. He roared and subconsciously stretched out his huge claws to slap Gu Fei. The purple crystal-winged Lion King did not hold back any strength and used all his strength to strike. His intuition told him that he did not need to use all his strength. If he dared to underestimate Gu Fei in any way, he would definitely die. Yuan was frightened by the Lion King's sudden strike and her face changed. Although she felt Gu Fei's strength, compared with the Lion King's huge body, Gu Fei looked too weak. Yuan felt nervous and worried, and her emotion value increased by 100. Will he be in trouble if he is hit by a strike like that? However, the next moment, the huge claw that weighed 1,000 kilograms was stopped in the air as if it was suddenly braked, and it could no longer be pressed down. At the same time, a violent metal collision sounded in the sky. The sound was harsh, and the huge energy bursting from the center made the low-level monsters approaching below spit out blood. Yuan stared at it without blinking. She squinted her eyes and found that it was Gu Fei who stretched out a hand. Compared with the giant claw, that hand was just like an ant at the foot of an elephant, but it intercepted the giant claw that was pressing down. Yuan felt shocked, and her emotion value increased by 100. How is this possible? Yuan exclaimed. Her seal had been almost lifted, and she could already feel the energy fluctuations from the outside world. The reason for the shock was that Yuan could sense that the protagonist of the battle, Gu Fei, did not use any fighting energy at all. He just stretched out a hand and used his physical strength to block the heavy blow of the 6th-level monster without any force. Moreover, this is not an ordinary 6th-level monster. The moment the attack of the purple crystal-winged Lion King was easily caught by Gu Fei, he felt the sharp pain from the claws. The purple crystal-winged Lion King felt fear, and his emotion value increased by 50. He subconsciously retracted his claws quickly, and a touch of fear rose in his heart. The purple crystal-winged Lion King is stronger than Yuan, and as an intelligent monster, its knowledge is also good. Naturally, it can be noticed that Gu Fei resisted the punch with only physical strength. Moreover, Gu Fei's face was calm, and he even looked at ease. The strongest point of Warcraft has never been chi, but their strong physical bodies. On the contrary, most of the weaknesses of humans are in the physical body. However, now, the positions of humans and Warcraft are completely reversed. Gu Fei can easily block his full strength attack without using chi. The purple crystal-winged Lion King exploded with fur, and his pupils constricted. How terrible is Gu Fei's physique? Gu Fei shook his hands and felt that there was no challenge at all. He still remembered that the system panel said that his physical fitness was level 78. which was equivalent to the physical strength of a 7th stage late-stage warcraft with Imperial blood. When warcraft cultivates through the late stage, each level leap is a qualitative improvement. Between the 6th and 7th levels, there is already a natural chasm, not to mention, there is also the blessing of the strength of the Imperial blood. If Gu Fei gets serious, he can easily beat the purple crystal winged Lion King with physical strength. It was not easy to meet a magic beast that was reluctant to agree with him. Gu Fei was going to persuade him again, but his patience was about to end. "Believe me, becoming my mount will be the wisest decision of your life. In the future, it is possible to break through to the 7th level, or even the 8th level. At least it is better than you staying in this magic beast mountain range." The purple crystal winged Lion King is hesitant, and the emotion value is increased by 50. After shocking the purple crystal winged Lion King with his strength, Gu Fei knew the principle of giving a date after a slap, and offered some conditions. Moreover, Gu Fei smiled faintly, and seeing that the purple crystal winged Lion King was still hesitating, he spoke again. "After that, I will give you a transformation pill." The combination of kindness and force was absolutely useful, and coupled with the various potentials shown by Gu Fei, the Lion King finally wavered. The purple crystal winged Lion King is hesitant, and the emotion value is increased by 50. Following such a future peerless strongman, even if it is just as a mount, it does not seem shameful. Moreover, Gu Fei has given him enough face. He had said so much. If the purple crystal winged Lion King still didn't agree, it might be killed today. Moreover, its child in the cave would also be in danger. Meet the master. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, the proud purple crystal winged Lion King finally chose to lower his head and surrender to Gu Fei. "Very good." Seeing this, Gu Fei smiled and nodded. Below, Yan witnessed this scene with her own eyes. Yan has a surprised emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. She was so surprised that she couldn't speak. Gu Fei's strength refreshed her cognition again and again, and even far exceeded her imagination. Yan couldn't help but doubt, does such a monster really exist? In the sky, Gu Fei was still explaining the purple crystal winged Lion King. "In this case, you get ready, and then follow me to leave the monster mountain range. As for your child, you can deal with it yourself." Then, he landed on the ground and came to Yan's side. Yan feels embarrassed. Emotional value increases by 100. Yan rarely feels embarrassed. She actually thought that such a strong man was just bragging. At this moment, Yan's attitude towards Gu Fei has quietly changed. She no longer regards him as a young boy as she did just now. This is the natural reaction of the weak to the strong. At the same time, Yan thought that she even told Gu Fei that she would help him recommend Gu Hei, which made her feel ridiculous. Gu Fei smiled slightly and was about to tease this iceberg beauty who rarely showed emotions. Suddenly, his brows rose slightly and looked to the east. "Why is she here?" Yan looked in the direction of his gaze without knowing why, and remained silent. Gu Fei frowned and felt a little irritable. What exactly did these two people want to do by coming to disturb him? Although Xun'er and Lingying did not deliberately reveal their aura, Gu Fei's strong soul power sensing still found that the two of them were approaching this side. Chapter 31 Xun'er's Jealousy. Yan didn't understand why Gu Fei frowned. At this moment, she seemed very quiet and didn't speak to disturb Gu Fei. Gu Fei also rubbed his eyebrows and seemed a little impatient. He didn't want to go ahead and look guilty, but waited quietly for the two people to come. After a while, two black dots emerged from the distant sky and flew over quickly. As the distance got closer, the two black dots gradually became clearer. They were Xun'er and Lingying. "It's really him." Xun'er was surprised, and the emotion value increased by 100. Xun'er's eyes had been looking anxiously, and now he finally saw Gu Fei. Although he had been prepared in his heart, he was still a little surprised when he saw it with his own eyes. Moreover, the next moment, she saw a beautiful woman standing next to Gu Fei. Although the woman was wearing a plain robe, she couldn't hide her proud figure. She was tall, with cold eyes, a beautiful face, a head of black hair slanting down, and a graceful and noble appearance. At first glance, she seemed to be a good match for Gu Fei. Who is this woman? Xun'er is jealous. Emotional value increases by 100. Xun'er didn't know why, but she felt an inexplicable jealousy rising in her heart. She shook her head, thinking that she must be missing brother Yan. What's wrong with Goof? What does it have to do with her? Soon, Xun'er and Ling Ying landed in front of Goof. As soon as Xun'er came up, she asked Goof, "Goof, why are you here?" Her tone seemed a little anxious. If Goof didn't know that she was only thinking about her brother Yan, he would really think that his ex-wife was worried about his safety. "I should be asking you this." Goof looked impatient and responded in a very cold tone, "I came out to experience. And you, why are you following me? What on earth is she doing?" "She actually followed me all the way to the monster mountain range." Xun'er listened to his tone, bit her lower lip, shook her head and denied, "I'm not following you." Goof certainly didn't believe it. If it wasn't following, how could it be such a coincidence that both of them were experiencing in the monster mountain range? Seeing Goof raised his lips sarcastically, with a mocking look in his eyes, Xun'er was a little angry. Xun'er is angry, and the emotion value increases by 100. The Northwest continent is a notoriously barren place. Where is it worth it for a monster like you to train? It's better to go anywhere than to train here, Xun'er said, and she became more certain of her guess. Her beautiful eyes flashed and she asked again, "Do you have other purposes?" Xun'er is suspicious, and the emotion value increases by 100. Other purposes? Hearing Xun'er's questioning tone again and again, even a person with a good temper would get angry. Goof's good mood of subduing the purple crystal-winged Lion King was instantly destroyed by Xun'er. He said angrily, "My business. Does it have anything to do with you?" Xun'er betrayed him first, but she kept chasing him and questioning him. What on earth is going wrong? There should be a limit to being willful and ignorant. Goof closed his eyes, then simply turned his head away and ignored Xun'er. Xun'er is anxious. Emotional value increases by 200. Seeing that Goof did not reply, Xun'er felt a little anxious. Could it be that brother Yan had been killed by him? But he should not be that kind of person. I don't know what Xun'er was thinking about, and her words suddenly took on a pleading tone. "Goof, I don't care what you think in your heart, and I don't doubt you. I just beg you. I know that because of me, you may have some resentment towards brother Yan." Xun'er paused and choked a little. "I beg you, don't hurt brother Yan. Don't deal with him, okay?" Xun'er is begging. Emotional value increases by 200. Yuan is surprised. Emotional value increases by 100. On the side, Yuan never said a word to disturb the two of them, but listening to their conversation, her heart was very shocked. Yan? Yuan still remembered the name Yan. This person had made an engagement with her only disciple, Nalan Yanran, and Yanran broke off the engagement. The two had made a 3-year agreement, and this time, Yuan came to the Warcraft mountain range because she learned that Yan's talent had been restored and his strength was improving rapidly. She was worried that Yanran would lose, so she came here to get the purple spirit crystal to make pills. However, Yan was clearly a young man with an ordinary background and a low level of cultivation. How on earth was he related to the proud children of Goof and Xun'er? Moreover, judging from this, the situation was probably very complicated. Xun'er and Goof's attitudes were not right, and they were probably closely related to Yan. Yuan herself had no prejudice against Yan, and she would not look at anyone with tinted glasses. But today's chaotic situation made her feel a little bad. Yuan frowned, and subconsciously disliked Yan a little more. Heard Yan? Goof frowned again, not believing what he had heard, and his anger rose suddenly. Unexpectedly, Xun'er, this woman, actually thought of him in this way. Heard Yan? Yan is not worthy. Xun'er is too arrogant. He clearly doesn't care, but Xun'er always thinks that he is resentful of her and Xiao Yan. It has even reached the point where he does not hesitate to come to the Northwest continent's monster mountain range under the name of training, to kill Xiao Yan as soon as possible. Goof laughed in anger, with a very disdainful expression. He is not worthy of me thinking about him like this. Looking at Xun'er, Goof's eyes added a bit of disgust. You are not worthy either. Xun'er has a feeling of loss, and the emotion value increases by 100. After saying this, Goof felt upset, so he turned around and said softly to the somewhat dazed Yuan, "Your injury is not completely healed yet. You should rest more." Yuan nodded, and before she could figure out the complicated relationship between them, she walked into the cave with Goof. Only Xun'er and Ling Ying were left outside. Xun'er briefly put Brother Yan behind her mind, looked at the backs of Gu Fei and Yuan standing side by side, and murmured, "Who is this woman? What is the relationship between Brother Gu Fei and her?" Xun'er was very angry, but also a little disappointed. After all, Gu Fei was her ex-husband, and the two had just divorced not long ago. How could Gu Fei get so close to other women? Moreover, Yuan's posture and appearance were both superior, and her noble temperament made Xun'er feel a little uneasy. She thought she didn't take the words that Gu Fei blurted out just now to heart, but the system's faithful prompts still exposed her thoughts. Faced with Gu Fei's disgust, Xun'er felt a little hurt. How could the good things in the past become his sharp sword stabbing her? She was a little lost and took a deep look at the cave. The entrance of the cave was blocked by Gu Fei, and Xun'er couldn't see the inside, so she couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. What will happen between Gu Fei and that woman in there? If you are interested, you can add it to the bookshelf. Chapter 32 Yuan's subtle reaction. Xun'er was sulking because Gu Fei refused to answer her questions directly and left her to take the woman into the cave. Ling Ying, who had never spoken like a transparent person, witnessed this farce and hesitated. "Miss, since Master Gu Fei said so, he would never deal with Xiao Yan. Master Gu Fei is very prestigious among the younger generation of the clan. Although I don't know much about him, I know a little bit. He not only relies on absolute strength to convince others, but also relies on personal charm. At least with my eyes, I can't see any concealment or lies from him." Looking at the angry Xun'er, Ling Ying couldn't help but speak. He believed in Gu Fei in his voice. Gu Fei was a man who valued his promises and kept his words. Since he said that he didn't deal with Yan, it meant that he didn't. On the one hand, Gu Fei was a genius that Ling Ying needed to look up to, and his status was extremely noble. Ling Ying respected Gu Fei from the bottom of her heart. When she learned that Gu Fei wanted to marry Xun'er, Ling Ying didn't say a word. After all, he had watched Xun'er grow up, so naturally he had a few more filters, and felt that no man in the world was worthy of Ms. Xun'er. But after observing for a while, Ling Ying recognized his identity as Xun'er's husband from the bottom of his heart. Before, Xun'er asked Ling Ying to contact Xiao Yan, but Ling Ying didn't want to. It was obvious that Xiao Yan was inferior to Gu Fei in every way. Between Xiao Yan and Gu Fei, Ling Ying obviously preferred Xun'er and Gu Fei to be together. The combination of two gifted people must be more perfect. Although Xiao Yan has a good temper and is calm enough, his talent is far inferior to Gu Fei. However, Ling Ying couldn't stand Xun'er's stubbornness. In addition, he had to lean towards Xun'er because he had been with Xun'er for many years, so he had to help Xun'er pass on the information. "Master Ling, of course I understand the truth. Since Gu Fei said that he would not take action against Brother Xiao Yan, it is a foregone conclusion and there is absolutely no possibility. Just now I was angry and too reckless, so I questioned him without thinking." Xun'er lowered her head and said in a low voice, although she was always unreasonable, she now felt a little guilty. Last time, Xun'er was so angry that the ancient demon sent people to deal with Yan that she misunderstood Gu Fei without knowing right from wrong. She thought she would not repeat the same mistake, but she did not expect that this time. Just now, she saw Gu Fei and Yuan walking together very pleasingly and stepping into the cave side by side. Xun'er felt more and more uncomfortable. She bit her lower lip and suddenly said, "No, I want to go in and see what happens. What if that woman has bad intentions? They must not have any accidents in there." Ling Ying had no choice but to hold his forehead and responded, but he did not intend to go in, but just guarded outside. Xun'er hesitated for a moment and planned to enter the cave. Just as she was about to enter the cave, her expression changed, and a sound of breaking wind sounded in the sky. "Human, without the permission of the master, you are not allowed to enter the cave without permission. Stand back." The purple crystal-winged Lion King hovered in the sky, and its huge figure enveloped the sky. It lowered its head and warned Xun'er and Ling Ying very seriously. The broken horn on its head was still aching, but Gu Fei had stopped the injury. On this day, the purple crystal-winged Lion King was in a tense state and never relaxed. It encountered too many powerful people today. Not only did it encounter Huang Yuan who came to ask for the purple spirit crystal and cut off half of its horn, but also Gu Fei, a Zong strongman. Moreover, among the people who came to Gu Fei later, There was actually at Huang peak level. Ling Ying didn't seem to have a sense of existence. He existed as a shadow and was used to hiding himself. But the purple crystal-winged Lion King was also quite afraid of Ling Ying. It stared at Ling Ying and estimated his strength in its heart. When it warned, its eyes were also vigilantly on Ling Ying. However, the purple crystal-winged Lion King understood that even if he was not an opponent, he had to come up to stop him, so as to show his loyalty to Gu Fei. Moreover, these two people obviously knew their master and should not attack him. Xun'er looked up at the purple crystal-winged Lion King's low warning. Not afraid at all, she shouted in a slightly sharp voice, "Get out of the way." The purple crystal-winged Lion King paused, and anger surged in his heart. It didn't want to offend Ling Ying, but it didn't mean that this arrogant little girl could act recklessly. The purple crystal-winged Lion King's voice was quiet for a moment, and then a subtle fluctuation spread in the air. Ling Ying keenly noticed the gathering of fighting spirit, and his eyebrows were slightly frowned. He walked forward a few steps, stood in front of Xun'er, and blocked the gloomy side of the purple crystal-winged Lion King. Ling Ying turned around and persuaded Xun'er, "Miss, Master Gu Fei may be angry now, so let's not go in for the time being. It's not too late to explain when Master Gu Fei calms down. If you go now, you will just run into his gun muzzle, and I'm afraid there is no way to make him calm down." Under Ling Ying's persuasion, Xun'er hesitated for a moment and finally calmed down. She glanced coldly at the cave entrance and waited outside. The faintly condensed fighting spirit finally dissipated, and Ling Ying breathed a sigh of relief. If Xun'er could not be persuaded, he would have to fight hard with the purple crystal-winged Lion King. Even if they would not take it seriously, they would inevitably be injured. On the other side, Yuan and Gu Fei walked into the cave side by side. Yuan noticed the burning gaze from Xun'er behind her, but did not say anything. The two continued to walk a few steps inside, and Yuan finally couldn't help but ask, "Is the Yan you just mentioned Yan from the Zhao family in Yuan City?" Yuan's intuition told her that these two Yans were the same person. However, Yuan was puzzled about how a useless person from the small Yuan city could know these top boys and girls. "Yeah," Gu Fei nodded nonchalantly, hummed very calmly, and said nothing else. He could sense that Xun'er and Ling Ying were still outside the cave. This made Gu Fei feel a little unhappy. It's not that he was jealous because Xun'er only had Yan in her heart, it's just because Gu Fei was a normal person. He would naturally feel unhappy when he was suddenly wronged for no reason and subjected to inexplicable speculation. At this moment, Gu Fei let out a long breath. Fortunately, he had separated from Xun'er now, and Xun'er no longer had much influence on him. If it had been before, he would have been distracted for the whole day, constantly doubting himself. Gu Fei shook off the distracting thoughts in his mind. At this moment, he suddenly missed the simple girl with purple hair and purple eyes, who was waiting for him to return in the small valley. At least, when she was around, Gu Fei never had too bad negative emotions. Chapter 33 Xun'er, what did you, a man and a woman, do in there? I won't stay in the monster mountain range for long. Gu Fei paused, then continued, since I saved you this time, it can be considered that we are destined to be together. Next, I will help you break the seal of your body. Considering that the little medical fairy is still in that small valley, waiting for him to return alone, Gu Fei doesn't want to stay here any longer. Yuan feels grateful, and the emotion value increases by 100. Thank you. Hearing this, Yuan's eyes showed a hint of gratitude. She wisely didn't ask Gu Fei why he was in a hurry to leave. Gu Fei was about to start helping Yuan, but he paused again and said bluntly, to help you break the seal, I need my palm to touch your body and input the fighting spirit into your body. Well, I'm not the kind of person who sticks to details. Yuan smiled, looking unconcerned, and responded softly. Next, Gu Fei's palm gently pressed against Yuan's slender back. His big palm was hot, and the hot body temperature carried the fighting spirit into Yuan's body continuously. Yuan's stagnant meridians were gently impacted by qi, and suddenly broke open. The feeling was sore but warm all over, and Yuan couldn't help but moan. When she reacted, her ear tips instantly spread a crimson. Although Yuan was not young, and was also the leader of a sect, she had almost no experience in men and women, and had never had such close contact with men. Yuan felt shy, and the emotion value increased by 100. She twisted a little with some struggle, but Gu held her shoulder with one hand. "Don't move," he whispered in Yuan's ear. His expression was quite focused. Yuan's whole body stiffened, her cheeks flushed, and her fingertips were shyly pink. Yuan felt shy, and the emotion value increased by 100. The seal was almost broken, and Gu released his hands. "Thank you," she whispered. Her eyes were erratic, and she still acted a little shy. Gu received the reminder of his emotion value, and looked at her thoughtfully. "Your purpose of coming here is to ask for the purple spirit crystal to refine the purple spirit pill. The purple spirit pill has the effect of improving the cultivation of people at the Qi and grade Qi levels. This pill is better than the purple crystal pill." Gu took out a pill from his ring and gave it to Yuan. This was made by him personally, and the effect was much better than the purple crystal pill. Yuan feels grateful, and her emotion value increases by 100. Thank you so much, you have helped me so much." Yuan did not refuse, took the pill, secretly glanced at Gu, and thanked him again. "Then let's go." After sending the pill, Gu stood up and walked out of the cave first. Yuan stopped where she was, staring at his back for a moment, and then caught up with him. She realized what she had just done, and her mood was a little subtle. Yuan feels reluctant to leave. Emotional value increases by 100. "Hello, Master." Outside the cave, the purple crystal-winged Lion King greeted Gu respectfully when he saw him coming out. Gu responded indifferently, without even paying any attention to Xun'er. On Xun'er's side, seeing Gu coming out of the cave, she quickly stood up and planned to explain the misunderstanding to Gu. Suddenly, her expression froze. Yuan, who was standing behind Gu, had a ruddy complexion, a worn look in her eyes, and her hair was a little messier than before she went in. After a careful observation, Yuan and Gu stood very close to each other, and there was an inexplicable special atmosphere between them that others could not get in on. Xun'er inevitably had some strange thoughts in her mind. Could it be that something happened between the two of them in the cave just now? Xun'er feels sad. Emotional value increases by 100. Thinking of this, Xun'er didn't know why she felt inexplicably sad. So, the explanation that she had carefully prepared for a long time was suddenly thrown behind her. Xun'er took a few steps forward, stared into Gu's eyes, and asked loudly, "You two, a man and a woman, stayed in there for a whole hour. What on earth did you do?" Xun'er has anger. Emotional value plus 100. Hearing Xun'er's words, Gu didn't react for a moment, but Yuan knew that she had misunderstood. At the same time, this righteous questioning tone also let her know that Gu and the beautiful and noble girl in front of her had a special relationship. She ignored a little emotion in her heart and wanted to explain, "This girl, it's not what you think." However, Yuan was interrupted by Gu before she finished speaking. Gu looked a little impatient, and said in a cold voice, "What I did, what does it have to do with you?" Xun'er has jealousy and anger. Emotional value plus 100. Hearing Gu's answer, Xun'er couldn't help feeling a little jealous. The next moment, the words she said were spoken without any consideration. "Gu, I didn't expect you to become like this. Take a good look at this woman, she's so much older than you. How can you be so fond of her?" Yuan's appearance is mature and elegant, with a noble temperament and a tall figure. Compared with young boys and girls like Xun'er and Gu, she really looks like an elder sister. Yuan feels unhappy. Emotional value increases by 100, but Yuan was very unhappy when she heard these words without thinking. She wanted to explain, but was completely annoyed by Xun'er's thoughtless words. Xun'er's words at this time seemed very harsh. Yuan should have ignored her attack, but she felt a strange emotion. She has a high status in the Jiama Empire. When has she ever been looked down upon like this? Not to mention that she is still a young girl. Since Xun'er suspected that something happened between her and Gu, and said that she was old, what else could be more embarrassing for Xun'er than fighting back with her own hands? Yuan has a competitive mood. Emotional value increased by 100. Yuan, who was aroused by the competitive spirit, actually reached out and held Gu's arm. At this moment, Gu's expression was a little stiff, like a piece of wood. He couldn't pull his arm out, and he couldn't not pull it out. He could only let Yuan lean on him tightly. Yuan smiled charmingly. "Little girl, although I am a little older, I know more than a little girl like you. Goof doesn't like you, and there is a reason." Yuan looked at Xun'er provocatively. Her voice seemed to have a hook, and she said these words deliberately to anger Xun'er slowly. She also blinked her eyes artificially and leaned her body towards Goof, feeling the stiffness of Goof's arm. Yuan's lips curved up even more. Usually Yuan is cold and noble, and has never taken the initiative to approach any man. She is always high and mighty, and her eyes cannot see any thoughts other than cultivation. If the people of the Jiama Empire knew about this behavior, they would probably be shocked. How could this still be the noble, cold and beautiful suzerain? She is clearly a demon. I will add another chapter today and will update it on time after 12 o'clock in the evening. Chapter 34. No matter what I do, I am much better than you cheating on your wife. Yuan's sudden abnormal attitude made Goof stunned for a moment. Especially, Yuan was now holding his arm and her body was still tightly against him. His arm seemed to touch a soft area of her body from time to time. This made Goof's always cold face seem to have a little crack. Moreover, this kind of ambiguous physical contact was very subtle, which made Goof's heart beat faster. His brain was blank for a moment, and he felt the disorder of his heartbeat. But soon, Goof figured it out. Yuan was like this because Xun'er's words just now made her angry, and the action she made at this moment was to deliberately anger Xun'er. "You too, how can you?" Xun'er's eyes froze when she saw Goof and Yuan's ambiguous behavior. Xun'er feels jealous, and the emotion value increases by 100. She stomped her feet and became even more jealous. She was very angry at this moment. "Goof, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. It's only been a short time since we've been apart, and you've already found a new love. Who do you think I am?" Xun'er is angry, and her emotion value increases by 100. Jealous, angry. The system prompts faithfully informed Goof about Xun'er's emotional changes. Hearing her inexplicable jealousy, which then turned into anger, jealousy and other emotions, Goof felt even more disgusted. Xun'er is always pretending, and now it's just possessiveness. She doesn't necessarily care about herself that much. She just doesn't want to see the man who once loved her deeply, and soon there will be another woman around him, and that woman is even as beautiful as her. Goof knows that although Xun'er is acting very angry now and looks angry, it seems that she really cares about him. However, once her brother Xiao Yan appears, then Xun'er will completely forget everything she just said. She will immediately throw herself into Xiao Yan's arms and won't think about these things at all. Xiao Yan is always the first in Xun'er's heart, and Goof is no longer interested in competing. "No matter what I do, it's much better than your cheating in marriage." Goof looked at Xun'er with some contempt and said in a deep voice. His words were still filled with disgust and disdain, and did not change at all because of Xun'er's emotions. Goof was fed up with Xun'er's tireless interruptions and temper tantrums. After he lost the filter of love in the past, he found that Xun'er was just a spoiled girl. Even if he really had something with Yuan, they were divorced now, and they were in a free love relationship. What did Xun'er have to do with it? Why pretend to catch an adulterer, question him in the tone of his wife, and pretend to be affectionate? "I'm sorry, I just didn't mean it." Hearing the conversation between Xun'er and Goof, Yuan finally understood the relationship between the two and said sorry to Goof. At this moment, she understood that the relationship between Goof and Xun'er was probably more complicated. However, she just used Goof to vent her anger. Just now, seeing Xun'er's jealous and angry look, Yuan was inexplicably happy, and couldn't help but curl up the corners of her mouth as if she had won. At this time, her anger had subsided, so she let go of Goof's arm. At this time, she realized that her actions just now were too bold. It seemed that Goof's arm had touched the sensitive parts of her body. Yuan felt shy, and her emotion value increased by 100. Thinking of this, Yuan's face looked more rosy than when she came out of the cave, and even her neck was faintly red. Even she herself didn't know what she did just now. In fact, it was not just to anger Xun'er. Instead, a large part of the reason was that she had developed some strange emotions towards Goof. How could Yuan be that kind of woman? She was the most cold and noble, and she would never get angry about such things. If it were another man, even if Xun'er said that to her, she would not be angry and hold the man's arm, and she would be bold enough to say such a slightly amorous words. Moreover, did Yuan really not notice the intimate and ambiguous physical contact between the two people, or did she acquiesce in her heart? On the other side, Xun'er had been silenced by Gu Fei's sharp words. She was the most delicate, and she couldn't stand the disgust and disdain in Gu Fei's eyes when he looked at her. In the past, it was only her turn to dislike Gu Fei, but since when did Gu Fei look at her with only negative emotions? She sighed and actually missed the past. But soon, Xun'er realized what she was thinking. Her face changed, she gritted her teeth, and stared at Gu Fei with dissatisfaction. Master Gu Fei, you should have been attacking the seal for that girl just now. As a bystander, Ling Ying naturally had to see things more clearly. He noticed some changes in Yuan's cultivation aura and explained to Xun'er. So that's it, they didn't do anything dirty in there. Hearing this, Xun'er suddenly realized, in her heart, she couldn't help but feel guilty for some of the words she said impatiently just now. In fact, this is also human nature. Yuan's appearance and temperament did make Xun'er feel a little threatened. I'm sorry, Gu Fei. Xun'er was about to apologize. But at this time, Gu Fei was too lazy to pay attention to her, but turned to the Lion King and said, Lion King, what else do you want to prepare? Master, what I am most worried about is my child who has not grown up yet. If I leave, I'm afraid that the surrounding monsters will attack my child. The Lion King worried. Don't worry about this, I will set a seal in your child's cave to keep it safe. After a few years, it will completely absorb the energy and the companion purple crystal source inside, and that will be the time for you to reunite, Gu Fei said lightly, and then went directly to the Lion King's cave. Yuan didn't want to face Xun'er and Ling Ying alone, so she spread her fighting spirit wings and followed Gu Fei. After the Lion King told his child, the little purple crystal beast, Gu Fei began to seal the cave. With his strength, the seal will not be broken unless there is an extremely strong Zongpeak or Zun strong man. Next, Gu Fei went directly to the back of the Lion King. In this vast northwest continent, it would be more convenient to have a 6th level magic beast to travel. In terms of speed, although it is not as fast as flying by yourself, it is enough. Goodbye, if there is a chance in the future, I will definitely thank you for this favor. Yuan feels reluctant to leave, and the emotion value increases by 100. Yuan said goodbye to Gu Fei, feeling a little reluctant, and she didn't know what was wrong with her. This was the first time she had such a strange emotion towards a man. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Gu Fei, Little Medical Fairy, are you going to chase me away? After Gu Fei and Yuan parted ways, he only wanted to see Xiao Yan as soon as possible. I wonder how she is doing in the small valley alone? He sat on the back of the purple crystal-winged Lion King and quickly rushed to the small valley where Xiao Yan was. It seems that I misunderstood him again. Xun'er saw Gu Fei and Yuan separate and heard their conversation just now. She realized that she might have misunderstood Gu Fei again. The jealousy before dissipated completely, and Xun'er bit her lower lip. Xun'er feels self-blame, and the emotion value increases by 100. She felt a little guilty, wondering if her attitude just now was a bit too much, and wanted to catch up with Gu Fei to make it clear. However, she hesitated for a moment. Xun'er knew that Gu Fei hated her very much now and was unwilling to stay with her. After a long time, Xun'er sighed, and finally watched Gu Fei's figure disappear from sight like a meteor in the distance without moving a step. Forget it. Let's find Brother Xiao Yan first. I don't know what's going on with him alone. Ling Ying followed in silence, and the two began to look for Xiao Yan's traces in the mountains again. No one mentioned the chaos just now. At this moment, in the small valley, Xiao Yan has been waiting for Gu Fei for most of the day. If it were in the past, Xiao Yan could stay alone for a long time in such a place with rich energy and beautiful scenery. But when it comes to waiting for Gu Fei, even in this short half day, her mind is very confused. She loves to think about random things. Several butterflies flew around by the window, and Xiao Yan held her chin with one hand, watching them entangled. The sun slanted down, and the girl's delicate face had no expression. The corners of her mouth that were always raised when facing Gu Fei were no longer curved at this moment. During the half-day of waiting in the small valley, her face was always a little depressed. After tucking her messy hair to her small ears with one hand, Xiao Yan began to read the medical book seriously. After a moment, she leaned back in the chair and sighed. Xiao Yan is actually a pessimistic person. Now she is the only one in this huge valley, and she always likes to think about negative things. She also thought, what if Gu Fei actually lied to her, and he would never come back after leaving this time? At that time, should she hate that boy? Her mind was very complicated. Her eyebrows were furrowed, and she looked like a weak willow leaning against the wind. Xiao Yan is irritable, and the emotion value is increased by 100. When Gu Fei approached the valley, he received a prompt from the system. At this moment, the girl in the room was still reading the medical book that she couldn't read, but soon she noticed a sound of breaking wind. Xiao Yan is surprised, and the emotion value is increased by 100. She looked up with great surprise, and what she saw was a fierce and huge monster. The monster was huge, and the surface of its body was 7 or 8 meters long, and it was covered with a layer of purple crystals. The sunlight shone, and the light was radiant, which was quite dazzling. The head of the monster is a rather ferocious lion head, with blood-red eyes with strange purple light, and a huge mouth full of fangs. On the lion's head, there is a half-remaining fiery red spiral horn, and clusters of purple flames are swirling around the tip of the horn. There is a pair of purple wings on the side of the huge lion's body. When the purple wings flap, clusters of light purple flames are like flamethrowers, sweeping out all over the sky. The 4 thick claws are also wrapped in a layer of purple crystals. Every time they step down, the void will tremble. It is hard to imagine how powerful it is. The huge monster stepped into the void, and an invisible pressure descended from the sky, making Xiao Yan tremble. Xiao Yan has fear, and the emotion value increases by 100. However, the monster does not seem to have any malicious intent, and it slowly landed on the ground. When Xiao Yan saw clearly that there was a very familiar figure standing on the back of the monster, the corners of her mouth curled up and her eyes were curved with a smile. Xiao Yan is happy. Emotional value 100. She lifted the hem of her long skirt and ran over anxiously. Silver bells rang, and the pretty girl ran towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei jumped off the back of the purple crystal-winged Lion King. You have been waiting for a long time. I am anxious to come back to see you. This is the mountain I subdued. Were you scared by it just now? When Gu Fei spoke to Xiao Yan, he spoke softly and his voice was very gentle. Yeah. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, her face slightly red. Brother Gu Fei is anxious to come back to see me? Xiao Yan is shy. Emotional value plus 100. Gu Fei touched the tip of his nose. He hadn't seen Xiao Yan for most of the day, and he had a lot to say to her. The two of them just stood beside the purple crystal-winged Lion King and chatted. The Lion King was tall and just blocked the sunlight for them. This is a 6th level magic beast. In the future, if we want to go to other places, it can take us. Little medical fairy is surprised. Emotional value increases by 100. You can subdue a 6th level magic beast. Little medical fairy is worried. Emotional value increases by 100. Her eyes fell on Gu Fei with a trace of worry. The magic beast looks very fierce. Are you not injured? Gu felt his heartbeat quicken for a moment with just a simple concern. This was the first girl who cared about whether he was injured since he became a Zong. Xun'er and Yuan knew that he was powerful, but they never asked if he would be injured. Gu smiled more gently and touched the girl's head. Of course not. How could I be injured? Then, the two continued to spend 2 days in the small valley. The days without worries and pressure were really beautiful, and Gu never mentioned leaving. However, little medical fairy knew very well that someone as outstanding as Gu, who was destined to be extraordinary, would not stay in such an isolated small valley for a long time. She couldn't help but worry. Gu was practicing, but he kept receiving system prompts. Xiao Yan is worried, and her emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yan is reluctant to leave. and her emotion value increases by 100. This silly girl, what are you thinking about? Goof also saw some of her emotional changes. Just when Goof was about to speak, Xiao Yan spoke first. Brother Goof, if you have other things to do, you don't have to worry about me. I can live well here alone. Are you trying to drive me away? Hearing this, Goof pretended to be angry. Xiao Yan is panicked, and her emotion value increases by 100. No, no. Xiao Yan shook her head repeatedly. I just think that this place is not suitable for your training. The outside world belongs to you. Xiao Yan, if I go somewhere else, are you willing to go with me? Goof asked very seriously. The air was silent for a moment, and Goof felt a little uneasy. Yeah. Xiao Yan nodded and agreed almost without thinking, without any hesitation. After chapter 36, I can make any elixir you want. Well, prepare yourself these few days and leave with me then. Goof reached out and touched Xiao Yan's head, his eyes showing a gentle look that he had never seen since his divorce from Xun'er in the ancient world. Xiao Yan feels shy. Emotional value increases by 100. She secretly glanced at Goof, with a smile in her eyes. The edge of the Magic Beast mountain range. 8 Extreme collapse. In a dense forest, a black giant ruler chopped a swift-wind wolf's waist at a tricky angle. Suffering such a heavy blow, the swift-wind wolf let out a wail and fell to the ground completely. The person fighting was Xiao Yan. He was on the edge of the Magic Beast mountain range, honing himself in battle every day and growing up from life-and-death battles. This time, the swift-wind wolf that Xiao Yan faced was a second-level magic beast, known for its speed. It was quite difficult for high-level fighting masters to deal with it. If it weren't for the training during this period of time and the increase in combat experience, Xiao Yan would not have been able to kill the swift-wind wolf in such a short time. However, although Xiao Yan defeated the swift-wind wolf, his neighbor was also injured, and blood was constantly flowing out. Damn beast! Xiao Yan cursed inwardly and walked towards a cave not far away. He did not choose to collect the body of the swift-wind wolf, but planned to let its breath scare the surrounding monsters, so that he could relax for a while. On the other side, Xun'er and Ling Ying were already very close to this place. Xun'er's eyes moved, and she seemed to have sensed something in her heart and stopped at the entrance of a cave. Ling Ying looked at her and carefully probed into the cave. He sensed a familiar, weak breath. Miss, we found him. Xun'er and Ling Ying continued to search for 2 whole days, and finally found Xiao Yan. Xun'er and Ling Ying hurried into the cave. Seeing Xiao Yan sitting cross-legged and practicing with his eyes closed, Xun'er was very surprised. But when her beautiful eyes turned, she found that there were almost dried blood and scars on Xiao Yan's arm. Xun'er? Xiao Yan opened his eyes and was surprised to see Xun'er suddenly appear. Brother Xiao Yan, are you okay? Xun'er asked with concern, bandaging the wound on Xiao Yan's arm with heartache. The two met again, and Xiao Yan did not ask where Xun'er had been during this period. He knew in his heart that Xun'er was a person he could not catch up with at present, and he could not expect Xun'er to stay with him all the time. He had to work harder. The two sat down, and Xun'er helped him wipe the blood off his arm. Her movements were very gentle. She bit her lower lip, hesitated for a moment, and whispered, Brother Xiao Yan, I'm sorry. Xiao Yan raised his eyes and looked at her in confusion. Someone wanted to kill you before, because of me, my family. I'm sorry. Xun'er lowered her eyes, not daring to look at Xiao Yan, but Xiao Yan gently touched her head. It's okay. How could I blame you? Immediately, his eyes narrowed, and his still young face was a little cold. Can a powerful force take someone's life at will? Xiao Yan's words were inevitably filled with anger. He had not yet learned how to restrain his emotions. Thinking of Yao Lao, who had not yet awakened in the ring, Xiao Yan frowned. The ancient demon had just said it casually before, and his men had come all the way to the northwest continent, and they killed him as soon as they met. Xiao Yan certainly could not fight against the strong men of the ancient clan, and ended up in a situation where he was almost dead. If it weren't for the critical moment, Yao Lao saw the opportunity to rescue him, I'm afraid he would have died. Therefore, Xiao Yan was still angry at this moment. Of course, he didn't blame Xun'er. Xun'er's life experience was mysterious, and I'm afraid she was helpless. Afterwards, Xiao Yan told his next plan. Xun'er, I want to train in the Warcraft Mountains, and while improving my cultivation, I will also look for elixirs to restore soul injuries. Even now, Yan still hasn't mentioned the existence of Yao to Xun'er. Xun'er also understood him, and didn't ask him what he suddenly wanted to do with the elixir to restore soul injuries. She thought of the mysterious strong man beside Yan before, and because of the previous incident, she felt very guilty, and said seriously, "Brother Yan, don't worry, I will find the medicine to restore the soul trauma for you as soon as possible." Hearing this, Yan's eyes flashed with a touch of emotion, and he agreed. He closed his eyes again and took the time to recover the consumed chi. The cave fell into silence. Misty Valley. After living in the valley with Yan for 2 or 3 days, Gu was finally ready to leave here. That day, he took Yan to the back of the Lion King and planned to cross the Warcraft Mountains. Gu embraced Yan's slender waist, jumped up, and landed on the Lion King's broad back. Yan feels reluctant to leave, and the emotion value increases by 100. After Yan came up, she looked back at the small valley with a nostalgic look. "Brother Gu, can we come back here in the future?" Gu touched her furry head. "Of course, I'll take you back whenever you want to." The little medical fairy smiled sweetly. Then, a transparent energy shield appeared on the back of the Lion King. This is to protect the people inside from the hurricane caused by high-speed flight. The monster mountain range, which is extremely dangerous to the people of the Gamma Empire, does not affect Gu at all. Those low-level monsters, sensing the breath of the Lion King, all crawled on the ground. How dare they come out to block the road? The purpose of Gu's trip is to cross the monster mountain range and go to the eastern border of the Gamma Empire. The eastern border is close to the Tiger Desert, where there is the strange fire that Gu needs in the second copy of the Demon Fire Remnant map. When the Lion King flew for a long time, Gu took out a pill from a jade bottle and planned to feed it to the Lion King to restore its strength. Is this the pill? It's really not comparable to the rough fusion of medicinal materials I used ordinary flames to combine. Looking at the roundness and luster of the pill surface, the little medical fairy was amazed. "Not everyone needs to make pills. I'll be by your side in the future. I can make any pills you need," Gu said softly. He knew that Yan's dream was to become a pharmacist, but unfortunately, her attributes did not match. Yan is moved, and her emotion value increases by 100. Listening to Gu's words, Yan nodded obediently. With a smile in her eyes, she was relieved that she could not become a pharmacist. After a few days of flying, the purple crystal-winged Lion King finally arrived at the edge of the desert. Perhaps because of the proximity to the desert, the weather here is quite dry and hot, and the scorching air makes the travelers passing by sweat profusely. The scorching sun sprinkled down from the sky, baking the ground under their feet and constantly emitting suffocating heat. The heat slowly rose up, and it even caused people's vision to appear a little distorted and blurred. From a distance, the entire desert seemed a little distorted. Add one more chapter, and update 2 chapters on time at 12 o'clock in the evening. Chapter 37. Is it exposed? The purple crystal-winged Lion King stopped briefly at the edge of the desert. The surrounding climate was too hot. It's so hot. Without the protection of the shield, Yan's forehead was constantly dripping with crystal sweat. Her long purple hair was wet and a little sticky. She loved cleanliness the most, but when she saw Gu was thinking about something, she didn't disturb him. She just shook her wrist silently to fan herself. Although she had made some preparations before coming, there were always omissions. Yan was wearing a little thick clothes now. King Shantown is like spring all year round, so the clothes are a little thicker. It's so hot here. Gu turned his head to look at her and waved his right hand. A layer of chi barrier enveloped the two of them, and Yan soon felt that the climate became much more comfortable. Yan has a happy mood, and the mood value increases by 100. After some adjustments, the purple crystal-winged Lion King flew back into the sky and flew towards Gu's destination. Gu's first destination was Haibodong, who was sealed by Queen Medusa and hid in the desert city. Looking at the yellow city gradually appearing in his vision, Gu did not slow down, and directly ordered the purple crystal-winged Lion King to fly over. Yan sat on the Lion King's back and looked at the city not far away. Her pupils dilated with excitement, and her whole body was about to stick out. Yan is excited, and the emotion value is increased by 100. Brother Goof, the desert scenery is so beautiful. This is the first time I have seen a city in the desert. Goof pulled her back helplessly. Be careful, I won't catch you if you fall. Xiao Yan pouted and sat back obediently, but her expression was still reluctant to look down. Her eyebrows were raised high, and her face suddenly turned a beautiful pink, and her eyes were wide open. Xiao Yan is shy, and the emotion value is increased by 100. Brother Goof, those people are dressed. Why are they dressed so cool? Goof looked in the direction of the voice, and there was also a trace of curiosity in his eyes. Although he knew the description in the original book, it was the first time he saw it with his own eyes, and he couldn't help but feel a little novel like Xiao Yan. As they gradually approached the city, more and more people were passing by. Most of the men were shirtless. Their skin was dark and lean, and they looked quite bold at first glance. The women who occasionally passed by, although their skin was also slightly dark, had a sexy bronze color. The women here were not as reserved and shy as the women in the empire. A set of tight leather clothes just covered their chests and a little bit of the ground below, but those slender waists were boldly exposed. The slender and tight thighs were also just trapped in some short skirts or shorts. When walking, the waists twisted like water snakes, which had a charming charm and style. This style was very similar to modern. Goof was used to the reserved and restrained dress. When he saw these hot-dressed women by chance, his eyes were stunned. Xiao Yan is jealous, and the emotion value is increased by 100. Xiao Yan certainly noticed his reaction, bit her lower lip, and turned her head away angrily. The next moment, Goof retracted his gaze, sighed helplessly, and looked at Xiao Yan with some amusement. He muttered to himself, "It's just like that, not as good-looking as our Xiao Yan." Xiao Yan is feeling proud. Emotional value increases by 100. Xiao Yan snorted and turned his head. They were joking with a smile, and Xiao Yan lowered her head and looked up at the yellow city whose specific scale could be seen. Inside the city buildings with unique desert characteristics appeared in the field of vision. The strange-looking houses and buildings were eye-opening. I saw two huge light red fonts carved on the city wall above the city gate. From a distance, it actually had a faint bloody feeling. "Mushing," Goof said softly and smiled, as the purple crystal-winged Lion King flew over and gradually lowered its flight altitude. The originally slack city guards and pedestrians outside were all terrified. Gu feels fear, and his emotion value increases by 0.1. Mo Xiao feels fear, and his emotion value increases by 0.1. Most people have never seen such a huge monster like the purple crystal-winged Lion King. Goof glanced at them calmly, and soon after, the Lion King stopped directly above the city. Next, Goof put his arm around Xiao Yan's waist, stepped on the void and landed in the city. The city guards, who were originally bullies, just looked at him with fear, shrank and dared not speak. His appearance immediately caused a huge sensation in the city. Yuan feels shocked, and his emotion value increases by 0.1. Huang Lian feels worship, and his emotion value increases by 0.1. The desert environment is closed. Outsiders generally do not come in, and people inside do not go out. People in such places have never seen such a big battle. A boy who looks only 16 or 17 years old not only has such a terrifying flying monster, but can even fly in the air. It's incredible. Xiao Yan chuckled. The reactions of these people are exactly the same as when she first saw Goof's strength, which is of course normal. After all, a monster like Goof would scare anyone who saw him. Then, Goof paused and called a passerby. "Excuse me, where is the shop that sells maps?" The passerby had just seen the calm-looking boy jump down from the huge monster and land easily from midair. He dared not answer such a strong man, and directly told Goof the locations of the best map shops in the city. Let's go eat something first." After asking for the way, Goof did not rush to find it, but planned to take Xiao Yan to find a restaurant in the city for dinner. After all, they had been rushing for a long time. He was fine, but Xiao Yan's cultivation was not as good as his, and he was probably a little hungry. At this time, because the Lion King was still staying above the city, the whole city was very afraid. From time to time, There were fearful eyes cast at the huge flying monster in the sky. The monster was calm, but the pedestrians below were probably scared to death. Even if it had no desire to attack, it was like a knife hanging over their heads. How could they not be afraid? Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment and said to Gu Fei, "Why don't we let the Lion King go outside first? This will scare the people in the city." "Okay." Hearing this, Gu Fei nodded. Since Xiao Yan brought it up, although he didn't care about it, he agreed directly. He sent a message to the Lion King and asked the Lion King to hover outside the city. When Gu Fei and Xiao Yan were having dinner in a restaurant, an old man with white hair walked out of an ancient shop in the city. He also saw the 6th-level flying monster, and his eyes flashed with deep thought. Could it be that someone has discovered me? Chapter 38. Do you want to be so miserable for the rest of your life? No, I think too much. After such a thought came to his mind, the old man shook his head again. He thought that if someone found him here, they would definitely come here directly. But now, after an incense stick of time, there was still no movement here. At this time, the turmoil in the city was slowly recovering as the purple crystal-winged Lion King flew away from the sky above the city. Therefore, he dispelled his worries. Are you full? On the balcony of a restaurant called Ling in Mo City, Gu Fei looked at the little doctor opposite with a smile on his face. "Yeah, I'm full." Hearing this, the little doctor nodded with a smile, and then took out the handkerchief he carried with him to wipe the oil stains on the corners of his mouth. Although the conversation between the two was extremely plain, it was this plainness that further indicated the advancement of their relationship. Now, the two of them are no longer as restrained as when they first met. Everything is very relaxed and casual. This way of getting along is the most comfortable. Well, accompany me to buy a map now. Gu Fei stood up and left the restaurant with Xiao Yan. Next, Gu Fei and Xiao Yan walked through several streets in the city and soon came to the quaint shop before. The shop was called Gu. It was not as luxurious and ostentatious as other shops. At first glance, it had a faint sense of quaintness. Gu Fei and Xiao Yan walked into the shop side by side. The interior of the shop was not too spacious. The faint light of the 2 moonstones illuminated the shop quite brightly. There were not many people who came to buy maps inside, and it was a little deserted. Gu Fei glanced around and finally stopped at the old man behind the counter who was bowing his head and carefully making the map. The old man was obviously quite old, but although he was already full of white hair, the palm holding the black pen was still steady and powerful. It seems that this person is Hai Bodong. Gu Fei smiled and said to himself in his heart, but did not go directly to the counter to ask. At this moment, Gu Fei's breath was restrained. Even Hai Bodong, a former Huang, could not see Gu Fei's aura. Therefore, Gu Fei and Xiao Yan's entry did not attract Hai Bodong's attention. Next, Gu Fei came alone to an ancient wooden shelf in the corner of the shop. This wooden shelf was obviously old and full of rotten wood holes. On it, some yellowed maps were randomly piled up. Looking at the broken marks on the surface of these maps, they seemed to be failed products when making maps. And this was exactly what Gu Fei was aiming for. He flipped through these yellowed maps casually, and a faint musty smell came to his face, making him frown slightly. The next moment, Gu Fei picked up a stack of failed works and shook his palm slightly. Under his shaking, a broken picture only the size of a palm suddenly fell from the stack of failed works. Sure enough, it's here. Gu Fei was not surprised to see the fallen broken picture. He already knew all this. Once the fragments of the pure lotus demon fire are gathered together, they can become a secret means to check and balance the pure lotus demon fire when the demon fire is born. What is this? It looks like a treasure map, but it is seriously missing. The little medical fairy took a look at the fragments of the map in Gu Fei's hand, and was a little curious about why Gu Fei was holding such a thing. Haha, this is a good thing. Gu Fei smiled, and did not explain too much. Instead, he took the fragments of the map to the counter and asked, "Old sir, do you have any other fragments of this kind here?" Gu Fei knew that Hai Bodong had another fragment of the map. He studied it for a long time after getting the fragments, but he did not find the answer. So he divided his own into 2. As Gu Fei finished speaking, the old man at the counter finally stopped drawing the map and raised his head suddenly. His eyes were a little fierce, and there was a scary scar from his left cheek to the corner of his eye, which made the little medical fairy feel a little scared, and subconsciously grabbed the corner of Gu's clothes. "Don't be afraid." Gu noticed Xiao Yan's move and gently touched her head. "Have you ever seen this kind of incomplete map?" the old man asked in surprise. Hai Bodong has a surprised emotion, and the emotion value increases by 80. "Well, I have seen it before." "I wonder if the old man can give up and sell this hidden map to me?" Gu smiled and nodded. "No." The old man shook his head, although his voice was flat. There was a sense of no doubt. "Old sir, as long as you are willing to sell it, you can name any price." Although he was rejected by Hai Bodong, Gu still did not give up. He was determined to get this incomplete map of the demon fire. "Young man, don't think about my incomplete map. I don't care about money, and you don't have any idea of robbing it. If that happens, it will not be good for you." The old man at the counter waved his hand and said lightly. He didn't seem to be afraid that Gu would run away with the incomplete map of the demon fire in his hand. "Brother Gu, since the old man is determined not to sell, let's go," Xiao Yan said very simply. She didn't want Gu to have a conflict with the old man. In addition, in her opinion, Gu would not do such a thing as robbing. "Don't worry, he will choose to sell." Hearing this, Gu smiled at Xiao Yan, and then turned to look at the old man. "You said so, a former Duang strongman. Who are you?" As Gu's words fell, a fierce light suddenly emerged in the eyes of the old man at the counter, and a strong aura spread. Hai Bodong has shock and suspicion, and the emotion value increases by 80. What's going on? This sudden change made Xiao Yan a little surprised, but now she also knew some of Gu's strength, so she didn't panic about it. On Gu's side, he exuded a ray of warm breath to protect Xiao Yan, so that Xiao Yan would not be affected by the icy aura. "Young man, I didn't expect you to have some skills." Seeing that Gu was not damaged at all by his aura, the white-haired old man couldn't help but be surprised. "So, what is your choice now, old man?" Gu nodded slightly without comment and smiled. "I said that I would not sell it to anyone. If you plan to take it away by force, don't blame me for bullying the weak," he said lightly, and the white hair behind the old man moved without wind. The cold fighting spirit lingered around him. At this time, Xiao Yan stood aside very obediently and did not interrupt. "If I say that I can unlock the seal in your body, will you consider it? Do you want to stay in this border town on the border for the rest of your life and be an ordinary shop owner selling maps?" Chapter 39. The Ice Emperor breaks the seal. How could such a monstrous person exist in the world? "Can you really break my seal?" Hearing Gu's words, Hai Bodong's eyes flickered, and he was obviously a little shaken. Hai Bodong was hesitant, and his emotional value increased by 80. "Do you know who put the seal on me?" But soon, Hai Bodong's eyes showed a hint of sarcasm, and he said with a smile, "You are just a young boy, and you dare to say that you can break the seal that I have been unable to do for decades." Hai Bodong was disdainful and suspicious, and his emotional value increased by 80. It seems that if I want you to believe, I must show my cultivation." Hearing Hai Bodong's sarcasm, Gu smiled and shook his head. At the same time, he no longer deliberately restrained his cultivation aura. An extremely domineering aura emanated from him, and in just a moment, Hai Bodong was stunned in place, with his pupils dilated. How is it possible? Even Queen Medusa back then didn't have such a strong aura. Hai Bodong was horrified. Emotional value increased by 80. This boy is so young, but he actually has such a terrifying strength. It seems that he can really break my seal. Hai Bodong couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope in his heart, but at this time, he was also quite afraid of Gu. Gu's genius has simply refreshed his worldview. Hai Bodong felt expectations and fear. Emotional value increased by 80. "Haha, old man, don't worry. Since I said I want to exchange, I won't do anything to snatch it." Knowing Hai Bodong's emotions, Gu smiled and said. Hearing this, Hai Bodong was relieved. If Gu wanted to rob him, he would really be helpless, because the momentum that Gu showed just now, even if Hai Bodong was not sealed, he would not be Gu's opponent at all. "My friend, I'll be honest with you. I was once one of the top 10 strongest men in the Jiama Empire, Hai Bodong. I'm sure you've heard of me." Hai Bodong's address to Gu changed from boy to friend, and when he said this, he seemed to have some expectations in his heart. "I've heard of it. The Ice Emperor's name is very famous. Hearing this, Gu Fei nodded. His response made Hai Bodong's face look proud, and he sighed in his heart. Even if I have disappeared for so many years, my reputation is still spreading in the empire. Then where are you from? Hai Bodong continued to ask. I'm not from the Jiama Empire, Gu Fei said bluntly. I came here because I learned that there was a strange fire in the Tiger Desert, so I came to find it. On the side, Dao Yixian was not surprised to hear these words. Gu Fei had already told her about the search for the strange fire. So that's it. Hearing this, Hai Bodong seemed to be thinking about it. He did not doubt Gu Fei's words. After all, it was difficult for a place like the Jiama Empire to produce a demonic figure like Gu Fei. Perhaps, only the vast Zhongzhou could produce such a genius. You just said that you are willing to unseal me, but are you serious? The next moment, Hai Bodong finally mentioned the matter of his seal. Of course it's true, Gu Fei nodded confidently. Hai Bodong's seal was done by Queen Medusa. If you want to unseal it, you can choose to use high-level elixirs to unseal it, or you can force the seal to break. With Gu Fei's current cultivation, it is not difficult to do this. Okay, if you can really unseal me, you can take this incomplete map. In addition, I have been here for decades, and I can also provide you with some news about the strange fire as a reward. After getting Gu Fei's affirmative answer, Hai Bodong also showed his sincerity. Just this fragment is not enough. After Hai Bodong offered the reward, Gu Fei smiled and shook his head, saying, there are some marks on one side of this fragment, which is different from the other side. It is obvious that it has been divided. I didn't expect that this boy is not only very powerful, but also very thoughtful. Hearing Gu Fei's words, Hai Bodong's face changed slightly, and he was surprised again. Hai Bodong is shocked, and his emotion value increases by 80. My friend, you guessed right. This thing was indeed divided into two parts by me. The other part was hidden by me. If you can break my seal, I will give you that fragment. Hai Bodong hesitated for a moment and nodded. Before breaking the seal, he could not hand over the second fragment. Then let's start. Gu Fei did not hesitate. It would not take much time to break a seal. I wonder how you plan to break my seal? Hai Bodong asked. In these years, he has been trying to solve the seal, and found a recipe for a pill called Breaking Evil Pill. However, he had been unable to find an alchemist who could refine the 6th grade elixir and possess the strange fire, and he was still short of one medicinal ingredient. This seal can be directly broken with qi. As soon as the voice fell, a stream of hot qi emerged from Gu Fei's palms. This majestic qi fluctuation made Hai Bodong's face pale instantly. He didn't have time to react, and his body was wrapped by Gu Fei's powerful qi. Then, a large amount of qi began to flow into Hai Bodong's body. After a while, Hai Bodong's body trembled violently for a while, and his old face suddenly tensed up. On his forehead, the strange dark green energy condensed rapidly. After a moment, it actually formed a dark green small energy snake pattern. These snake patterns are the key to blocking Hai Bodong's bodied qi. And now, Gu Fei only needs to completely wipe out these snake patterns to break the seal. The next process may be a bit painful. Be prepared, Gu Fei reminded Hai Bodong, and then moved the seal in his hand, and a stream of energy suddenly surged out of Hai Bodong's body. At this moment, Hai Bodong's veins popped up, as if he was enduring great pain. But this time was not long. After a while, those snake patterns were squeezed out of Hai Bodong's body by Gu Fei's qi energy. Those snake patterns had just left Hai Bodong's head, and there was a violent tremor, and then turned into a puff of green smoke, which dissipated. At the moment when the snake patterns left the body, Hai Bodong's tightly closed eyes suddenly opened. The brilliance shot out from his eyes like a substance, and a fierce momentum, like a lion awakening, burst out from the body that had been suppressed for decades. This damn seal is finally gone. I have become an Huang again. The seal was broken, and Hai Bodong's face was filled with ecstasy, and he raised his head and laughed wildly. Chapter 40 Gu He, is there anyone in the Jiama Empire whose alchemy skills are better than mine? Yunlin sect. As the most powerful sect in the Jiama Empire, the Yunlin sect is located directly on a majestic mountain only 10 miles away from the capital of the Jiama Empire. Because of the name of Yunlin sect, this mountain is also called Yunlin Mountain. A mountain is named after a sect, which shows that it is not ordinary. Yunlin Mountain is steep, surrounded by cliffs on 3 sides, and there is only one road leading to the top of the mountain. It can be said to be a dangerous place that is easy to defend but difficult to attack. Moreover, there are disciples of Yunlin sect patrolling all over the mountain. The whole mountain is like a small fortress. Only 2 miles away from the foot of Yunlin Mountain, there are 50,000 cavalry stationed here by the empire. Although these 50,000 cavalry are called guarding the capital, anyone can see that this is the ruler of the empire, guarding against this tiger near the capital. The size of Yunlin sect can be seen from this. At this moment, outside the main hall of the Yunlin sect, a middle-aged man with a rather elegant appearance walked in a little anxiously. This man was the elder of the Yunlin sect, Gu Fei, and at the same time, he was also the most powerful alchemist in the Jiama Empire. After hearing that Yuan had returned to the sect, Gu Fei quickly rushed over. Sect Master. At this time, Yuan was also in the main hall. As soon as Gu Fei came in, he hurriedly greeted her and turned to look at her. Did you get the purple spirit crystal on this trip? I heard that a very terrifying battle broke out in the Warcraft mountain range a few days ago. It should be between you and the purple crystal winged lion king. Yuan's eyes flickered, and she shook her head, silently indicating that she did not get the purple spirit crystal. She had been a little absent-minded since she left the Warcraft mountain range. Hearing this, Gu Fei also sighed. He thought that Yuan's emotions were because she did not get the purple spirit crystal. If she had the purple spirit crystal, he could refine the purple crystal pill and give it to Yan. But the next moment, Yuan blinked her eyes, and a smile suddenly appeared on her face. She said, although I didn't get the purple spirit crystal, I accidentally got a pill that is better than the purple crystal pill from a young alchemist. Hearing this, Gu Fei couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, a little suspicious. Just when he was about to ask Yuan, he was interrupted by Yuan's words. I have given the pill to Yan. At least, so far, the effect is very good. There are no side effects, and the cultivation has increased very solidly. It's so perfect that it doesn't look like a pill. Yuan's voice was full of praise. After all, medicine is 3-point poison. Although most pills have mild effects, they are more or less poisonous. It's okay to take it occasionally, but taking it for a long time and in large quantities will easily damage your essence. Yuan didn't encourage Yan to take pills, but she was only thinking about improving her cultivation quickly, and she was also confident in Gu Fei's ability to refine medicine. So she took the initiative to help him find the purple spirit crystal. But the pill that Gu Fei gave her was different. She didn't sense any toxicity. It was mild and harmless, and seemed to have no side effects at all. It was estimated that within a month, after digesting the power of the elixir, Yan would be able to successfully break through to the great fighting master realm. Gu Fei frowned when he saw Yuan's admiration for other alchemists. How powerful could an elixir made by a young man be? Moreover, for a fighter who wanted to reach the great fighting master realm, his purple crystal pill was the best choice. Where did the formula of this young man's elixir come from? However, Gu Fei then saw with his own eyes that after Yan took the elixir, her cultivation was indeed very significant. Her aura was obviously much more depressed, and the fighting spirit seemed to be cultivated from real practice, very stable. This elixir was indeed better than the expected effect of the purple crystal pill. Such a result also made it difficult for Gu Fei to say what he was holding in his heart. Before, Yuan asked him to refine the elixir, and he put forward a condition, which was that Yuan and he would go to the Tiger Desert to find the strange fire. Yuan readily agreed at that time, and promised Gu Fei that after Gu Fei successfully refined the purple crystal pill and gave it to Yan, she would help him find the strange fire. But now, before he refined the purple crystal pill, Yuan had already obtained a better and gentler pill from others, which made Gu Fei a little embarrassed to speak. After all, this was considered as a broken promise, so how could he ask for compensation again? Gu Fei's lips moved, and although Yuan was a little slow, she knew what he wanted to say after seeing it a lot. Elder Gu Fei, don't worry, I will still help you with what I promised before. Just consider it as a thank you for helping Yunland sect so much before. Yuan said coldly. After all, Gu He has made a great contribution to Yunlan sect. You know, the pill of the Pill King is hard to find in the outside world. When Gu He helped them refine pills in Yunlan sect, he usually only charged a very small reward, or asked the other party to accompany him to go out and fight once, as he did this time. After all, although Gu He is good at refining medicine, he is still not strong enough to protect himself. Choosing a few powerful bodyguards and exchanging them for the pills he refined is his best choice. As the leader of the sect, Yuan, although Gu He failed to help her this time, it would be unreasonable for her not to help. Thank you very much, Sect Master. Gu He was overjoyed, and then said, this should be done as soon as possible, and we will set off tomorrow. Yuan agreed happily. In Shimo City, with the help of Gu Fei finally recovered his Duang cultivation. He broke the seal and felt the long-lost fullness of strength, but Hei still didn't dare to attack Gu Fei, and handed over the half of the incomplete map according to the original promise with great pain. In addition, he also gave Gu Fei a map that he drew that might contain the location of the strange fire. Of course, Gu Fei didn't actually need the location of the strange fire, because he knew that the strange fire had been taken away by Queen Medusa at this time. Going to look for it now would only be a wasted trip. All Gu Fei needed was a map of the desert. Very good. Thank you. Gu Fei took it with a smile, and then left the ancient map shop with Xiao. Next, they had to really enter the desert. Shimo City was actually only the outer edge of the desert, and they were going to the deep desert where there was no human habitation. The climate there was not good. It was very hot, and water resources were scarce, so Gu Fei began to take Xiao to purchase some supplies in Shimo City. In the desert, water is indispensable, and some food was also purchased. Xiao followed Gu Fei obediently, but Gu Fei did not ask her to help carry things, but put them all into the storage ring. After collecting the supplies, they left the city, sat on the back of the Lion King, and set off again to the depths of the desert. Chapter 41. Entering Shimo City, the little girl King Yuan. Could such a genius come from Zhongzhou? Hei had recovered his former Duang strength at this time. At this moment, his Qi turned into wings and stayed in the air outside the desert city. He looked at Gu Fei and Xiao riding the huge flying magic beast amethyst-winged Lion King away with a trance in his eyes, and murmured in his heart. Hei could of course recognize that the huge magic beast was the overlord of the outer periphery of the magic beast mountain range, the 6th level magic beast, the amethyst-winged Lion King. The 6th level magic beast is equivalent to the human Duang cultivation level, and the amethyst-winged Lion King is even in the middle of the 6th level. Even he has to be careful when facing it head-on. Now, Hei cultivation has been restored and the seal has been broken. The Ice Emperor who was once so powerful has finally returned completely again. He was sealed by Queen Medusa and spent his days in the stone desert city in a daze, guarding a small shop. Maybe Hei was lucky this time and met Gu Fei, or maybe he was unlucky and was blackmailed by Gu Fei for a large sum of blood. In the past, the unruly Ice Emperor might have fought Gu Fei happily. But now, after so many years of settling down, he no longer had the same spirit as before. Moreover, although he could not see through Gu Fei's strength, he could sense how terrifying the energy was hidden in the body of the seemingly thin boy. Therefore, the sudden surge in strength at this moment did not make Hei have any bad thoughts about Gu Fei. He was sure that Gu Fei's strength was far beyond his. The aura that Gu Fei exuded that time was much stronger than when Hei faced Queen Medusa. Intuition told Hei that this ignorant boy was very dangerous, and those incomplete maps that didn't know what treasures were buried. Although Hei didn't know what the incomplete maps were for, he could still know, the secrets hidden in these incomplete maps were definitely not small. After all, it was because of these incomplete maps that he was hunted by Queen Medusa. He was in such a miserable state that his cultivation was sealed and he had to hide from place to place. What kind of person was Queen Medusa? She was the absolute queen of the snake people. As proud and powerful as she was, it was probably the first time that she would go to the ends of the earth to find Hei and the fragments of the map in person. I have been missing for so long, and I should go back to the imperial capital to see how my old friends are doing now. After a moment, Hei exhaled a breath of turbid air. His brows relaxed, and he finally put aside the thoughts about Gu Fei and the fragments of the map in his mind. He spent too much energy and time on these things. Now that they were all taken away by Gu Fei, he also felt a long-lost sense of relief. After all, it was too hard to guard the treasures and be afraid of when Queen Medusa would appear in front of him and kill him mercilessly. This time, Gu Fei also untied his heavy burden. Before leaving, Heartbroken took a last look at the huge city located at the edge of the desert and the land. Yellow sand filled the sky. Enthusiastic people were rubbing shoulders with each other as they walked through the streets. Everything was familiar, but today they had to say goodbye unexpectedly. Heartbroken had also thought that he might have been growing old in fear in this stone desert city. Fortunately, someone gave him a chance to go back. He sighed lightly, his expression slightly lonely. The secluded life of these decades also made him, who was originally very indifferent, develop some feelings for this place. Heartbroken did not look back again, and his figure gradually went away. He didn't know if he would come back in this life. The ancient map on the corner of the street was quietly closed. No one knew where the old store manager had gone. They only knew that the store had never opened again. On the other side, as the Lion King carried Gu Fei and Xiao Yan into the deeper part of the desert, the surrounding climate became hotter and hotter. However, staying on the back of the purple crystal-winged Lion King, with the energy shield to isolate her, Xiao Yan did not feel the heat. She sat on the Lion King's broad back and looked at the scenery below. The difference between this place and King Shan Town is too great. Even though Xiao Yan has seen it several times, she still can't help but marvel at it. Along the way, they saw a lot of humanities and customs below, and also saw snake people, which made Xiao Yan very curious. Is this a snake person? Brother Gu Fei, it seems quite special to walk with a snake's tail. Xiao Yan was not afraid of these guys with human bodies. There was pure curiosity in her eyes. Gu Fei just smiled and didn't tell her what a terrifying existence snake people are to humans. Once, Xiao Yan yawned and looked down again, but she saw a battle between snake people and humans in the desert below. There were a dozen tall snake people in total, surrounding 7 or 8 humans. The snake people were tall and strong, making the humans among them look weak and pitiful. At this time, Gu Fei said that most snake people hated humans very much and were cruel. Many snake people would kill anyone they saw. If nothing unexpected happened, these humans would be killed in this siege. The snake people and the humans of the Jiama Empire hate each other, and this hatred has even reached the point where they will attack each other as soon as they meet. This hatred has accumulated over time. There is no absolute right or wrong. It is a disaster for both sides. Originally, Gu Fei did not intend to intervene in this matter. However, Xiao Yan saw this scene and asked Gu Fei for help without hesitation. Brother Gu Fei, help them. Xiao Yan said in a pleading tone, with some pity in her eyes, because she saw that among the humans below, there was a woman holding a child. Okay. Hearing this, Gu Fei glanced at Xiao Yan. The panic in her eyes made Gu Fei feel her kindness again. Xiao Yan had spoken, so how could Gu Fei remain indifferent? So he directly ordered the Lion King to fly over there. The Lion King's size scared both sides and made them flee before they even got close, and those humans got a glimmer of hope. With the speed of the Lion King, it took only half a day to approach the city closest to the border of the Jiama Empire, Shimo City. When he arrived here, Gu Fei stopped for a while. He remembered that King Lin, the poor girl with half human blood and half snake blood, was in this city. As far as Gu Fei knew, King Lin had a kind personality, but she had suffered unfair discrimination and abuse since she was a child. Even with a strong talent, she had never stimulated it. So, Gu Fei had an idea. He wanted to take King Lin to practice in advance. Perhaps, only when she was strong, those who had discriminated against and insulted her would not dare to do so again, and she could get fairness instead of unwarranted abuse and insults. Moreover, King Lin was also an important character in the original work, and her luck must be good. If she could stay with him for a long time, it would be very helpful for Gu Fei to collect emotional values. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. Your face is so red. Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? This time, without Xiao Yixian's reminder, Gu Fei did not let the purple crystal-winged Lion King fly into the city directly to cause panic like last time. Instead, he stopped a few miles outside the city and asked the Lion King to wait somewhere outside the city. He and Xiao Yixian entered the city in a low-key manner. After entering Shimo City, Gu Fei still took Xiao Yixian to a restaurant first. Deep in the desert, the sky is full of yellow mountains, and people will choke on a lot of yellow sand even if they breathe. Although most cities have formations to filter the air, they are not enough. Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian flew all the way from high altitude, and the situation was better than on the ground. After all, they were protected by a protective shield. But the two of them just walked from outside the city to the city, and they were covered with a lot of yellow sand raised by the strong wind. Xiao Yixian looked at her white dress with tears in her eyes, which became a little dirty. There was also some yellow sand on her face. Gu Fei looked down and chuckled, but was heard by Xiao Yixian, who had sharp ears, and stared at him with a pair of big eyes. Were you laughing just now? Xiao Yixian becomes suspicious. Emotional value increases by 100. Gu Fei quickly cleared his throat and shook his head seriously. When Xiao Yixian was about to get angry, Gu Fei spoke first. Let's find a place to take a shower first, and then I'll take you to buy clothes later. Okay. Xiao Yixian was attracted by his words, and her eyes lit up. Xiao Yixian becomes excited. Emotional value increases by 100. Really? Brother Gu Fei, you can't lie to me. I saw a lot of shops along the way just now, and the clothes on display are all very beautiful. Gu Fei laughed and touched her furry head. Okay, later, I'll give you all my money to buy clothes. Xiao Yixian becomes excited. Emotional value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian looks very calm on weekdays, but after all, she is a little girl, and she can't take her eyes away when she sees beautiful clothes. Xiao Yixian accompanied him from King Shan Town to Shimo City without complaint. Of course, he had to be nicer to this girl. Xiao Yixian smiled and responded loudly, and then hurried to take a bath. Gu Fei was not stained with any dirt, but he also took a bath. After all, he always felt that his body was a little dirty, so it was better to wash it. Soon, the two finished bathing and were clean. Xiao Yixian changed into another long dress and took the lead to walk on the street. Gu Fei followed her behind, with a smile on his face, looking at the lively girl in front of him. Since she came to the desert, her personality has become much more cheerful. She dared to make requests to him openly and would also joke. Gu Fei was very happy, which meant that Xiao Yixian trusted him very much now. No, since he invited her and Xiao Yixian agreed to leave King Shan Town without hesitation, this girl was destined to be with him. Her true personality is probably like this. She loves to laugh and make trouble. The gentle Xiao Yixian in King Shan Town is just a perfect mask to hide herself. Brother Gu Fei, hurry up and catch up. Xiao Yixian looked back and found Gu Fei standing there in a daze, so she shouted to him, "I'm coming." Gu Fei waved and walked towards Xiao Yixian. These clothes are very exotic, although they are not as close-fitting and bold as the ones Xiao Yixian had seen before. They also have a lot of hollows. Xiao Yixian pinched a skirt and was silent for a moment. She glanced at Gu Fei and her face suddenly turned red strangely. Xiao Yixian feels shy, and her emotion value increases by 100. Gu Fei sat aside waiting for her to pick clothes. Hearing the system prompt, he looked over with some confusion, but he saw that the corners of her mouth were raised, as if she was laughing, but her face was red. Your face is so red, are you feeling unwell? Gu Fei asked before walking away, a little worried. Xiao Yixian feels panic and shy, and her emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian seemed to be frightened by him. She jumped away, her ears turned red, and her eyes looked around. Nothing. Gu Fei shook his head, picked up a few clothes picked by Xiao Yixian, and went to pay the bill. Turning back, he saw Xiao Yixian's eyes full of stars. Xiao Yixian is happy. Emotional value increases by 100. Brother Gu Fei, you are so handsome. When I was in King Shan Town before, the sister of the shop next door told me that a good man is one who is willing to spend money on a woman. After listening to her, Gu held his forehead helplessly and led the silly girl who kept muttering back to the restaurant. The next day, Gu planned to find King Lin. King Lin's situation has been very tormenting. If he went a day earlier, he could get her out of that situation in advance. Although Gu claimed that he was not a good person, King Lin's life in the original book was not a decent life. In addition, she could also provide emotional value for him. So he planned to find King Lin earlier. Xian, I sensed an extremely strong physique in this city yesterday, and I wanted to take him as my disciple. Xian has doubts, and her emotion value increases by 100. Xian had some doubts on her face when she heard this, and she muttered to herself, Brother Gu is going to take a disciple, so from now on, won't there be one more person around me? Xian, when I find someone, I'll take you with me. Stay in your room and don't go anywhere. Don't run around, okay? Gu instructed. Brother Gu seems to care about me a lot. Hearing the nervousness in Gu's tone, Xian was stunned. Xian has a heart throb, and her emotion value increases by 100. Gu didn't expect that a casual remark from him would cause such a big reaction from her. Xian didn't expect that her heartbeat would suddenly speed up. Before, when Gu had something to deal with, he would let her wait alone. No, I'm going now to see what kind of person the disciple you're going to accept. Brother Gu. The corners of Xian's mouth curled up, her eyebrows curved, and a smile appeared on her pale red lips. This smile was more beautiful than the short-lived night blooming cirrus at midnight. Gu looked at it, and his eyes could not help but be stunned. He coughed to cover up and quickly changed the subject. Xian has a happy mood, and the mood value increases by 100. Xian smiled even more when she saw Gu's rare panic. Okay, let's go together. Next, Gu nodded in agreement and took Xian to fly over the city. There was nothing under his feet, but he was flying freely in the sky as if he was walking on flat ground. And with Gu's strength, almost no one in the whole city could detect his existence and breath. Unless you see it with your naked eyes, you can't find his existence at all. In a corner of the city, there is a manor with a large area. This is the base of the Desert Iron mercenary group in Shimo City. Gu remembered that the two young leaders of the Modi mercenary group in Shimo City were Yan's eldest brother Xiao Ting and second brother Li. Chapter 43 King Lin, Master, can I? Desert Iron mercenary group, martial arts arena. A dozen mercenaries stood in a row, and standing in front of them were two young men. One of them was dressed in white and looked relatively calm, while the other had a fierce look on his face. These two were Yan's elder brother Xiao Ting and second brother Li. At this moment, they were teaching mercenary fighting skills in the martial arts arena. At this time, in the backyard of the Desert Iron mercenary group, a thin girl in green, half of her face was covered by a braid of green hair, and she walked in the crowd with her head down. She looked very young, as if she was not even 14 years old. Her emerald green eyes were as plain as water, but they had an inexplicable magic, like the cold eyes of a snake, and you would be sucked into them if you looked at them. The girl had a delicate face, small and exquisite, but she never raised her head in the crowd. No matter where the girl in green went, anyone she met, whether it was a mercenary or a servant hired by the mercenary group, looked at her with disgust. She lowered her head and bumped into a tall man. Are you blind? You annoying thing, it's bad luck to see you. The man turned back impatiently, and when he saw a green braid and an exotic green dress, he started to curse. The girl was very timid in the face of these undisguised malice, and never dared to resist. She only dared to hide in a deserted place, squatted down, buried her head between her legs, and sobbed softly. Little girl, do you want to stop being discriminated against from now on? Suddenly, a voice sounded in King Lin's ears. The person who asked the question was Gu, who quietly sneaked into the Modi mercenary group. King Lin couldn't stop sobbing softly, but held her breath the moment she heard the voice. King Lin has a surprised emotion. Emotional value plus 70. She looked up suddenly and saw two brothers and sisters who were a few years older than her. These two people were naturally Gu and Xian, who rushed to the Modi mercenary group. The two of them had just concealed their own auras, and in the sky, they saw some unfair treatment suffered by King Lin. Although King Lin had a place to stay in the Desert Iron mercenary group, he still suffered this kind of inexplicable discrimination and abuse. Especially Xiao Yan, who was even more sympathetic when she saw these things. Just now, she was watching from behind, and Xiao Yan almost couldn't help rushing over several times. Xiao Yan has anger and distressed emotions, and the emotion value is increased by 100. After knowing Xiao Yan's emotions, Gu Fei also told her about King Lin's life experience. Xiao Yan had heard before that near the Tiger Desert, human women were occasionally abused by snake people. According to common sense, snake people and humans generally do not get pregnant when they have sex. However, nothing is absolute, and there is always an extremely rare chance that a woman who has sex with a snake man will get pregnant and give birth to a child. King Lin is the child born from the union of a snake man and a human, with snake man blood. Snake people and humans seem to hate each other from birth. People like King Lin are regarded as curses by both humans and snake men. It seems that there is nothing else to live for so many more years except more cold stares and ridicule. Even after King Lin was taken in by the two leaders of the Desert Iron mercenary group and worked as a maid in the mercenary group and was responsible for logistics, she was still hated by almost all mercenaries. The mercenaries on the edge of the desert all have an indelible blood feud with the snakemen. King Lin is indeed pitiful, but when they think of the snakeman blood in her body, they can't help but feel hatred and disgust in their hearts. King Lin, who has both human and snakeman blood, bears the discrimination and disgust of both snakemen and humans. Speaking of it, she is extremely innocent and has never made any mistakes. King Lin has a confused emotion, and the emotion value increases by 70. King Lin looked at Gu Fei and Xiao Yan in a daze. At this time, Gu Fei's feet have not touched the ground, and he is hovering in the air. This young man looks like a powerful person at first glance. At least, there is no one stronger than him in Shimo City. King Lin feels hesitant, and the emotion value increases by 70. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded gently, but there was still some timidity in her eyes. If you want, worship me as your master, and I can make you a powerful person that everyone will pay attention to, Gu Fei said. King Lin feels yearning, and the emotion value increases by 100. Then, Xiao Yan also came directly to King Lin and persuaded King Lin, "Come with us. This brother is very powerful. In the future, when your cultivation becomes stronger, no one will dare to bully you again." Xiao Yan is very kind, and her gentle eyes make a good impression on King Lin. King Lin looked at her, felt a little relaxed, and showed a faint smile. King Lin feels relaxed, and the emotion value increases by 100. "Master, can I? King Lin was very tempted, but his eyes still looked at Gu Fei with some trepidation. "You can do it, since I chose you. It proves that you have the potential." Gu Fei nodded. "I am willing to take you as my teacher," King Lin said solemnly. "However, the two leaders of the Modi mercenary group have done me a favor and took me in to work here. Therefore, I have to say goodbye to them before I leave, so that they won't worry." Then, Gu Fei agreed. He directly used his soul power to sweep the mercenary group, and soon called the two people over. The voice with a majestic pressure surprised Zhao Ding and Zhao Li in the martial arts field. Zhao Ding has a feeling of surprise and panic, and the emotion value increases by 50. Zhao Li has a feeling of surprise, and the emotion value increases by 50. After that, Zhao Ding and Zhao Li quickly came to Gu Fei. King Lin slowly told him that he had taken Gu Fei as his teacher and was leaving. At the same time, he thanked Zhao Ding and Zhao Li for their care before. Seeing this, Zhao Ding and Zhao Li breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts, and at the same time, they were a little surprised. They didn't expect that Gu Fei looked so young, but he had such a terrifying strength. At first, they thought they had provoked such a strong man, and they rushed here in fear. Finally, after hearing what happened, the two of them were also happy for King Lin. Zhao Ding feels happy. His emotion value increases by 50. Zhao Li feels happy. His emotion value increases by 50. Since you two have taken care of King Lin before, you can take these 2 pills. They will be beneficial to your cultivation and can also repair many hidden injuries on your body. Gu Fei took out 2 pills that were useful for improving the cultivation of fighting masters and gave them to the two of them. Without waiting for them to react, he took King Lin and Xiao Yan away. Zhao Ding and Zhao Li looked at each other with gratitude in their eyes. "Thank you, Senior." Zhao Ding feels grateful. His emotion value increases by 50. Dao Li feels grateful. His emotion value increases by 50. Chapter 44. Stimulating Physical Fitness. The exclamation of the little medical fairy. After returning to the restaurant, Dao Yixian lived in the same room with King Lin. Although King Lin was a woman and had an outstanding appearance, she was still young and didn't know much about many things. Dao Yixian would not be jealous of other women around Gu Fei. Moreover, Gu Fei was just accepting disciples, and King Lin's life was so pitiful. King Lin, take a look at which one you like. Go take a shower and change into it. In the room, Dao Yixian took out several new clothes that were suitable for King Lin that she had just bought on the street. Thank you, Sister Dao Yixian. King Lin's eyes were red, and she thanked him softly. It was great to meet them. The next day, Gu Fei and the other two got up early and wandered around in Shimo City. King Lin was a little restrained at first. After all, the temperament of Gu Fei and Yixian was different from that of the other people in the mercenary group, especially Gu Fei. Although he looked ordinary at first glance, with only a good appearance, his fighting spirit fluctuations were not very strong, but King Lin felt an inexplicable sense of awe towards him, and always felt that Gu Fei was the most powerful person she had ever met. Dao Yixian kept talking to her along the way, asking her to relax a little and not to treat herself as an outsider. Gu Fei and Yixian both treated her like a spoiled child, and she quickly became familiar with them. She slowly raised her head, which had always been lowered, and her smile became brighter. She looked a bit like a truly carefree 14-year-old girl. However, occasionally when they looked at each other, a trace of inferiority would flash in King Lin's eyes, and she would quickly look away. She didn't want them to see the pair of green and charming cold snake eyes. Dao Yixian was careful and discovered it at the first time. She found an opportunity to secretly mention it to Gu Fei. King Lin is so inferior. I'm afraid she was often discriminated against by others before. There was some pain in her eyes, and Gu Fei quickly comforted her. I'll think of a way. Dao Yixian believed in Gu Fei unconditionally. He said he would find a way, so she just had to watch. After bringing King Lin with him, Gu Fei pondered for several days and felt that it was time for her to stimulate her talent. She was bullied before because she didn't know the terribleness of her talent. If King Lin could fully develop her physique, who would dare to look down on her? If she understood how powerful the discriminated snake pupils were, she might be happy and feel that she had the power to protect herself and them. King Lin has a strong physique like the green snake three-flower pupils. She can control some snake-like creatures and absorb the energy of snake-like creatures for her own use. Her talent is extremely strong. The green snake three-flower pupils are extremely rare, and it is difficult to pick one in a million miles. If King Lin uses it well, she will have great achievements in the future. Originally, before Dao Yixian brought up this matter, Gu Fei had no intention of going to the magma land deep underground, because the strange fire in the magma land had been taken away by Medusa. The remaining King Lian platform and the earth fire lotus seeds were of no use to him, so he was too lazy to make another trip, which was a waste of time. But now, Gu Fei has changed his mind. Anyway, he had to take King Lin there to stimulate her talent. While controlling the two-headed fire spirit snake, he could also take out the King Lian platform and the earth fire lotus seeds. The King Lian platform and the earth fire lotus seeds were of no use to him, but they could also help Yixian and King Lin speed up their cultivation. At night, Gu Fei informed Yixian and King Lin in advance. King Lin is excited, and the emotion value increases by 70. When King Lin heard that she was going out, the excitement in her eyes was about to overflow. She hurried back to her room, but she couldn't sleep after chatting with Yixian for a long time. After all, she was still a half-grown girl, and it was probably the first time for her to take a short trip like this. The next morning, Gu Fei took Yixian and King Lin out. With his understanding of the original work, he naturally knew the approximate location of the magma land. As he got closer, his powerful soul power could sense the special breath. It turned out to be this place. King Lin was hesitant, and the emotion value increased by 70. When he came to this desert, King Lin looked a little hesitant. She murmured to herself, and Gu Fei certainly heard it, but he didn't speak. Instead, Dao Yixian looked at her in confusion. What's wrong, King Lin? Seeing Dao Yixian's concerned eyes, King Lin's lips trembled, and she turned to look at Gu Fei with determination. After all, Brother Goof was the strongest, and he must understand what she meant. King Lin said, "Brother Goof, I sensed that this place was unusual half a year ago." This place, half a year ago, it seems that there was an extremely powerful breath coming here. This breath is somewhat similar to some of my blood. When mentioning her blood, King Lin's voice was a little stagnant, and she passed it over vaguely. And in front of that breath, even the leader of the Sand mercenary group is much weaker than him. King Lin added. Now Yixian also became curious, staring at King Lin non-stop, making King Lin a little shy. Unexpectedly, King Lin could sense that a strong man came here from a distance of dozens of miles. Thinking of what Gu Fei had said before about King Lin's extraordinary talent and wanting to take her as his apprentice, Now Yixian suddenly became thoughtful. King Lin, your perception is correct. A strong man has indeed been here before. Gu Fei nodded after hearing King Lin's words. Then, he used his fighting spirit and flew rapidly into the sky. He was floating in the air and grabbed a desert with one hand. The air paused for a moment, and the sand there was directly sucked to both sides and continued to spread out around. After a while, a passage appeared under the sand. King Lin is shocked, and the emotion value increases by 70. Brother Goof, did you sense this? It's amazing. King Lin saw that Goof had found a mysterious passage so smoothly. Even though she knew that Goof was powerful, she was shocked by the speed. Goof smiled indifferently and fell to the ground. Then, Goof took Yixian and King Lin down and entered the mysterious passage. And they gradually came to the deepest part of the passage. Underground, the fire attribute energy is extremely rich, and the temperature is naturally very high. The surrounding air seemed to be distorted because of the high temperature, and the scorching air waves swept the entire small space. However, with Goof's fighting spirit protection, Now Yixian and King Lin were fine. King Lin experienced this kind of fighting spirit shield for the first time, and looked at it curiously for a long time. They walked for a while and finally saw the end. At the end of the passage, there was an underground magma lake. In the huge cave, the fiery red magma flowed slowly in it. Occasionally, huge bubbles emerged from the magma, but a moment later, with a slight sound, it burst with a bang, and the hot magma burst out from it, as gorgeous as a fiery red firework. Chapter 45, Snake Man Umai. Gu He reveals his whereabouts. Now Yixian and King Lin were both very surprised and attracted by the dazzling scene in front of them. They both stopped. Let you see a big guy. Goof smiled and plunged directly into the magma. Soon, he pulled out the two-headed fire spirit snake in the magma. In addition, he stimulated King Lin to activate the physical effect of the green snake 3 flower pupils. Oh my god, King Lin, you can actually subdue a 4th-level monster. Seeing that King Lin could actually subdue the two-headed fire spirit snake, Now Yixian was also happy for her. Next, Goof briefly introduced the physical effect of the green snake 3 flower pupils to the two. This terrifying, insidious and cunning two-headed fire spirit snake stood quietly in place after being tamed by King Lin, and King Lin actually thought it was a little well-behaved. There was also a smile on her face. In this simple smile, she was relieved of her own bloodline and the pair of snake pupils, and also grateful to Yixian and Zhao Yixian. King Lin feels grateful. Emotional value increases by 70. Goof looked at her calmly, and saw that the little girl seemed to have unloaded all the burdens, with a relaxed smile on her face, and felt much happier in her heart. Then, with King Lin ordering the two-headed fire spirit snake to lead the way, Goof easily went to the place where the Kinglian Earth Core Fire was born. He easily took the Kinglian platform and the Earth Fire Lotus Seeds and put them all into the ring. Brother Goof, you should have found the strange fire this time, right? Seeing Goof coming up, Now Yixian asked with some expectation. No, Goof shook his head. He took out a piece of colorful scales and said, this scale was left by Queen Medusa. I guess the strange fire here has been taken by Queen Medusa first. It seems that we have to go to the snake people. Is that so? That's a pity. Now Yixian felt a little sorry. She knew that Goof came here to find the strange fire. King Lin also understood that perhaps Queen Medusa was the powerful breath she sensed half a year ago. Next, the three of them returned to the restaurant in Shimo City. Goof waited for them to wash up and knocked on the door of Yixian and King Lin. He looked serious, and King Lin also became a little nervous. King Lin, Since you have such a strong physique, you are a good seedling for cultivation. Next, I will teach you the method of cultivation, Gu Fei said seriously. Yes. King Lin also nodded seriously. King Lin has a grateful emotion, and the emotion value increases by 70. Her heart was full of gratitude and joy. In the future, she will also have the strength to protect brother Gu Fei and sister Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan watched the two finish teaching, and then she spoke, saying what she had been thinking about for a long time to say to King Lin. King Lin, I actually have the same special physique as you, which is hated and feared by most people. It is called the evil poison body. She broke down the threats that the evil poison body would cause to the people around her and its terrifying hidden dangers and told King Lin a little bit. Xiao Yan didn't know whether she was comforting King Lin or talking about the fear that had been hidden in her heart. She was also afraid that one day she would be hated by everyone around her and eventually killed by the evil poison body. But when she saw King Lin, Xiao Yan felt relieved. King Lin finally knew that Xiao Yan had the evil poison body. No wonder Xiao Yan never had physical contact with her on weekdays. Xiao Yan sometimes pretended to avoid her touch, and King Lin would be sad for a while, afraid that Xiao Yan disliked her. Knowing the hidden dangers of the evil poison body, King Lin was worried about Xiao Yan. At this time, Gu Fei suddenly said, "Don't worry, I have a way to solve Xiao Yan's hidden dangers. However, it requires a lot of materials. When I find the strange fire, I will go to find those materials and try to solve it as soon as possible." Really? Hearing Gu Fei's words, the depression in Xiao Yan's eyes disappeared, and she said in surprise. How could Gu Fei not see the fear hidden under her bright smile? But he didn't say anything, waiting for Xiao Yan to speak herself. In this way, she could untie her knot to the greatest extent. Xiao Yan has anticipation. Emotion value increases by 100. After hearing what Gu Fei said, Xiao Yan's eyes lit up, and she smiled unconsciously. Her purple eyes seemed to be glowing. King Lin was also sincerely happy for her. Next, Gu Fei and the other two spent 2 days preparing in Shimo City, buying a lot of supplies for backup. Xiao Yan and King Lin also happily visited all the stalls and shops. Gu finally planned to set off to the desert area occupied by the snake people. This time, after leaving Shimo City, the purple crystal-winged Lion King was also summoned by Gu Fei. King Lin looked at Gu Fei and Xiao Yan with some doubts and stopped. Xiao Yan also looked up at the sky from time to time, as if waiting for something. Brother Gu Fei, sister Xiao Yan, why don't we leave? Xiao Yan smiled mysteriously. You will know later. Until in the distance, a huge flying monster rushed towards them in the sky, and King Lin fell into a stagnation. The huge creature circled in the sky above their heads for several circles, slowly descended, and finally stepped steadily on the ground. King Lin is shocked, and the emotion value increases by 70. King Lin, this is brother Gu Fei's flying magic beast. It's not bad. Xiao Yan explained with a smile. King Lin is shocked, and the emotion value increases by 70. Looking at the little girl's dazed look, Gu Fei couldn't help but smile. He helped Xiao Yan and King Lin onto the back of the purple crystal-winged Lion King. King Lin finally woke up and looked around with excitement on his face. The purple crystal-winged Lion King flew into the sky, and King Lin was as excited as Xiao Yan, who sat on the back of the Lion King for the first time. According to the map route, Gu Fei and his party arrived at the territory of the Serpent Tribe after flying for a whole day. Because they were carrying 2 women, they had to travel a long distance for a whole day. Gu found an oasis and stopped so that they could bathe in the lake. This is the territory of our snake tribe, please leave quickly. The purple crystal-winged Lion King was such a huge target, and after entering here, it was naturally discovered by the snake people of the charming snake tribe. However, facing a 6th-level magic beast, the tone of these snake people was not very fierce at first, but rather quite tactful. Get out of here if you don't want to die. The Lion King roared. Under the vibration of its wings, many snake people of the charming snake tribe were blown away. Under the absolute crushing of strength, many snake people did not dare to move forward again. At this time, in a desert only more than 100 miles away from here, a battle was also taking place. The 2 sides in the battle were Yumai, the leader of the charming snake tribe. The other side was Gu He and his group who came to the desert to look for strange fire. Chapter 46 Yumai's Fear. Haha, I didn't expect that I would meet a Wang-level warrior not long after arriving in the Great Desert. I guess you must be a leader of the snake people? Gu Hei's chi biplane fluttered lightly, and he took a step forward, smiling at a charming snake person in the distance. The snake person had a charming face and a hot body, which was very eye-catching. In those beautiful diamond-shaped eyes, there were wisps of spring-like water. Who are you? Why did you come to the depths of our tribe so late at night? Don't you know that you humans are forbidden to enter here? The charming smile on Gu Mai's pretty face had completely faded at this time. Instead, there was a cold solemnity. Obviously, in front of this sudden terrifying lineup, she had no leisure to joke. We want to see the queen, Gu Hei said bluntly. Want to see Her Majesty the Queen? Upon hearing this, Gu Mai's beautiful eyes suddenly curved into a beautiful and dangerous arc, and she sneered. We, the snake people, have been at odds with you humans for many years. What else can we talk about? If you are sensible, I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, once the 8 leaders of my snake people gather together, the number of strong men in the Gamma Empire will probably shrink significantly. Gu Mai threatened. It seems there is no more to talk about. Gu Hei obviously would not retreat because of the threat from the other party. As he finished speaking, the other 2 Dwangs around him began to besiege Gu Mai. Gu Mai saw that the situation was not good and chose to flee. On the oasis lakeside, the snake people of the charming snake tribe did not dare to approach the oasis under the intimidation of the Lion King, but only passed on information to the outside. A 6th-level magic beast, even if Gu Mai, the strongest leader of their charming snake tribe, was here, I am afraid she would not be able to stop it. What's more, Gu Mai, the leader of the charming snake tribe, has left now. The remaining members of the charming snake tribe could only be on guard against the Lion King and Gu Fei. Very vigilant eyes would scan them from time to time. Those snake people who used to kill humans cruelly did not dare to rush over and attack. Gu Fei waited until Xiao and King Lin finished bathing and changed into clean clothes before deciding to set off. Now Xiao was delicate and gentle, while King Lin had a pair of cold green eyes, but the whole person was well behaved. The 2 wore skirts that were not so conservative in the desert, and they were beautiful in their own ways. The desert was really hot, although she was protected by fighting spirit. Now Xiao still found it troublesome and learned from King Lin to braid her long purple hair into a braid, which fell from her shoulders from back to front. Gu Fei was stunned when he saw her particularly gentle appearance. Now Xiao was originally wearing an open skirt, revealing a pair of white arms, and her face was a little shy and blushing. Seeing Gu Fei's eyes staring at her, her ears turned red and she turned her head away, not daring to look at him. Now Xiao feels shy. Emotional value increases by 100. Next, the 3 of them sat on the back of the purple crystal-winged Lion King and began to move deeper. As night fell, a huge tribal fortress slowly appeared on the distant horizon. The fortress was brightly lit. However, the flickering firelight in this peaceful and tranquil situation revealed something uneasy. On the huge wall that was dozens of meters high, there were countless arrow towers densely packed. The arrows with lavender tips shone through the arrow towers, and under the moonlight, they glowed with a cold luster. They were accurately and coldly aimed at every corner around them. Once they were fired, no matter who it was, they would be pierced into a sieve. However, strangely, in such a strict defense circle, a huge passage was destroyed. What was even more strange was that all the arrow towers near the huge passage were smashed into pieces by a powerful force that came from nowhere. Gu Fei saw from afar a passage in this solid fortress that was destroyed by force from the outside, and he was thinking, looking at this situation, could it be that Gu Fei and his group walked in front and broke into the fortress of the charming snake tribe? Looking at the fortress in front, Gu Fei murmured in his heart. However, he remembered that in the original book, Gu Fei and his group should not have set out at this time, but judging from the traces of destruction, it could only be Gu Fei and his group, because others do not have such strong strength, and a strong man with such strength would not suddenly run to the depths of the desert and find the charming snake tribe so accurately. Therefore, it could only be Gu Fei, who was plotting for the strange fire, who brought all this forward for some special reason. But soon, Gu Fei stopped tangling too much. Perhaps, his crossing to this world triggered some butterfly effects. In this case, It is normal for some things to deviate from the direction, and he does not need to delve so deeply. Gu Fei looked up at the fortress in front of him, thought about it, and felt that he did not need to be so timid. After all, this was the tribe of the snake people. Lion King, just go ahead, don't stop, Gu Fei ordered the Lion King. The purple crystal-winged Lion King paused, and then, without slowing down, he rushed straight towards the charming snake tribe. Among the snake people, the guards guarding the fortress did not find anything unusual at first, until they saw the huge monster flying in the distance. They realized that something was wrong. Stop it! One person shouted loudly. Then, cold arrows and countless poisonous spears flew out from the city wall. The Lion King snorted disdainfully. Are these snake people looking down on it? Some poisonous little garbage also want to stop it? As the purple crystal-winged Lion King's wings fluttered, a powerful hurricane swept in. The hurricane blew away the poisonous spears, and those attacks could not get close to it at all. The Lion King continued to fly without caring, and did not care about these attacks at all. Gu Fei was not a bloodthirsty person. He broke into someone else's tribe this time, so he did not kill anyone. Only the Lion King was allowed to fly over the fortress, without causing any casualties to the snake people. After flying over the charming snake tribe, Gu Fei continued on his way. Along the way, he encountered many snake people blocking him. However, those obstacles were not a big deal at all. The purple crystal-winged Lion King was in the sky, and many attacks were launched from the ground, which could not threaten it at all. One day later, in the holy city of Medusa, in the spacious and luxurious hall, a beautiful figure leaned back on the chair with a little tiredness, occasionally lazily glanced at the empty purple crystal throne on the high platform, and couldn't help shaking her head helplessly. Rubbing her smooth forehead with her slender hands, the woman's pretty face suddenly showed a touch of joy. She raised her head and looked outside the hall. A dark shadow shot in like lightning, finally arrived. Seeing the dark shadow entering the hall, the woman couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. My, what happened? They actually issued 3 martial law orders in a row? Are those humans very strong? The figure entering the hall was obviously a male snake man, with a faint fierce aura. Glancing at this male snake man who had the same status as herself in the tribe, Yumai sighed lightly and said lazily, very strong. I ran into them last night, and I fled in panic. Moreover, there are more than just this group of people. Oh, do you know their exact strength? Upon hearing this, the male snake man's pupils shrank slightly, walked to the hall, and sat down in front of the spacious table. There was an undisguised coldness in his voice. 1 Tuang, 3 Duang, and 4 Ling. Yumai pursed her sexy red lips. When she spoke again, she sat up a little straighter, and her originally lazy face became a little more serious. The most important thing is another group of people. Chapter 47 The Queen's Evolution. A sexy scene. Yumai's eyes were more serious than ever before. The tribe sent a message that among that group of people, there was a Rank 6 flying magic beast. Rank 6 magic beast? How come these guys suddenly gathered so many powerful people? The male snake man called Mobus frowned, his face obviously more serious. Do you know the strength of the other people who were traveling with the rank 6 magic beast? Mobus asked with a gloomy look. There were 2 very weak girls and a boy. My tribe couldn't see through his strength at all. They said that the man didn't seem to have any fighting spirit fluctuations. Yumai thought of the news from the tribe and frowned. She was very afraid of this mysterious boy who could tame a rank 6 magic beast. Mobus asked in a deep voice, have you notified Her Majesty the Queen? What did she say? Notified, but Her Majesty the Queen seemed very calm. She just asked me to send information and call you over. Yumai nodded and said helplessly. Seeing that Mobus didn't believe it, Yumai was about to close her eyes. Her pretty face suddenly changed, and her body suddenly sat up from the chair. Here they come. When Yumai sensed the auras that suddenly appeared outside the city, Mobus also sensed it. His face darkened and he exchanged glances with Yumai. Then the 2 of them instantly flashed outside the hall and rose into the air rapidly. A moment later, they arrived on the city wall that had been put under martial law. At this time, outside the city wall, a huge magic beast was suspended in the air, and several figures were suspended not far in front of the magic beast. The visitors were Gu Fei and his party. Among them, Yan was wearing a black robe and was the only Huang strongman helper Gu He invited. "Human, why did you trespass into our territory without consent?" Mobas shouted angrily. "Haha, this must be the leader of the Mobas of the Moshe tribe." Gu He walked out slowly and said with a smile, "Who are you?" Mobas sneered. "Haha, I am Gu He." The middle-aged man smiled slightly and said softly, "The Dan King Gu He of the Jiama Empire? Hey, this name is well known." The word Gu He also surprised Yumai and Mobaz. Although the snake people rarely look at the strong people of humans, they have to pay enough attention to the master of medicine like Gu He, because they also know very well what kind of appeal a master of medicine like Gu He has. "He, two leaders, I have come to the nobles to talk to Queen Medusa about something. I wonder if Her Majesty the Queen can show up to talk?" Gu He smiled politely. "To see Her Majesty the Queen? Sorry, we can't convey this request for you." Shaking his head, Mobaz refused without hesitation and said lightly, "Gu He, you should take your people away as soon as possible." When the two sides were in a stalemate, a figure suddenly appeared from the twisted space in the sky. The beautiful woman who appeared suddenly was wearing a graceful purple brocade robe. The delicate body under the brocade robe was plump and exquisite, like a ripe peach, exuding a faint charm. A head of 3,000 black hair casually draped down from her shoulders, vertically between her slender waist, and under the brocade robe, a purple snake tail was revealed, swaying slightly, a wild and enchanting temptation, making people inexplicably feel a little hot all over. Queen Medusa. With the appearance of this enchanting woman, Gu He and others finally became a little nervous. Even Yuan did not have the strength to defeat the notorious Queen Medusa. At this time, on the other side, after flying at high speed all the way, the purple crystal-winged Lion King gradually approached the holy city of Medusa. "Now Yixian, King Lin, you wait here, I will be back soon." As if sensing something, Gu asked the Lion King to stop, turned around and instructed Yixian and King Lin. Now Yixian has a worried emotion. The emotion value increases by 100. King Lin has a worried emotion. The emotion value increases by 70. Both of them knew how powerful Gu was, but knowing that he was going to go deep into the holy city full of snake people who hated humans alone, they could not hide their worries in their hearts. Gu had to comfort them a few words, bid farewell to the two women, and then galloped away. He arrived just in time. Outside the holy city, Gu He and his group were silently confronting Queen Medusa. Seeing that Gu He and his group saw through the shadow of Queen Medusa outside and then broke into the holy city, Gu found the direction, concealed his breath and sneaked into the holy city of the snake people. Queen Medusa divided the breath of the strange fire into several parts in different directions to confuse, but Gu was quite familiar with the strange fire. His perception spread to the entire holy city, and the huge spiritual power allowed Gu to quickly find the true direction, and he did not blindly search like Gu He and his people. Soon, Gu came to the east of the city. A huge temple slowly appeared in sight. He completely concealed his own breath, and without any snake guards noticing, he entered the depths of the temple quietly as if he had entered an empty place. At this time, a small clear lake appeared in Gu's eyes. In the center of the lake, there was a small island. The water around the island was shimmering, and there was no bridge leading to it. The lake seemed calm and peaceful, as if it was easy to reach the island in the middle of the lake, but there was a no-fly zone, and the lake water was even highly poisonous. Although Gu was able to crack it, he had to carry it through in order not to alert the enemy. If it were someone else, he would be at a loss for what to do with the poison in the lake. Gu chose to wrap his body with the strange fire and swam through the lake. The sea heart flame he had obtained played a huge role in this environment. The sea heart flame glowed with a faint blue light, wrapping his body, making Gu seem to be burning, but it would not go out when it came into contact with water. When he came to the island in the middle of the lake, Gu did not stop and continued to walk forward. Then, following the guidance of the strange fire in his perception, he found a bamboo forest. The further he walked, the stronger the smell of the strange fire became. In Gu's sight, the center of the island was completely different from the periphery. Here was a circular open area. The surrounding bamboos and flowers were all cleaned up. Here, There are only small and smooth stones scattered around. These stones are sunken into a small pool in the open area. The small pool is filled with crystal clear water, and white mist is lingering on the surface of the water. In the center of the small pool, there is a lotus seed carved out of strange crystals. On the lotus seed, a ball of green flame is slowly rising. Gu Fei hid in the corner, restrained all his breath, and blended into the environment. He knew that the purpose of his trip was there, but he was not in a hurry to act. After a while, an enchanting figure appeared. It was Queen Medusa. She planned to use this strange fire to burn herself to evolve. Chapter 48. It seems like a good idea to keep the queen as a pet. When a face that was so beautiful that it almost reached the level of enchantment came into his eyes, Gu Fei's eyes could not help but freeze for a moment. At this time, Queen Medusa was wearing a set of luxurious and expensive purple brocade robes, which wrapped her graceful body. Her plump and fiery exquisite figure released enchanting temptation. The pair of narrow and long light purple eyes, with flowing eyes, were naturally charming, and almost attracted every man's sight. Under the purple brocade robe, a purple snake tail was exposed, sweeping lazily, releasing wildness and strange style. At this moment, Queen Medusa's beautiful eyes were staring at the blue flame in the small pool. After staring at the blue flame quietly for a long time, Queen Medusa suddenly sighed softly, looked up at the sky, and then her fiery body slowly stood up. "It's time." Murmuring softly, Queen Medusa's purple brocade robe revealed 2 white wrists, and her slender hands slowly formed a few seals in front of her body. As the seals in Queen Medusa's hands changed, the crystal lotus suddenly trembled violently. The blue flame that lost its restraints turned into a raging fire in just a blink of an eye. Queen Medusa bit her red lips with her pearly teeth and slowly unbuttoned her brocade robe. Immediately, a perfect jade body that seemed to be a masterpiece of heaven was exposed naked in the bamboo forest. Gu Fei's breathing was slightly faster, and his blood was boiling. The scene in front of him was too erotic. Even if he didn't have this intention, he couldn't help but have some natural physiological reactions. A dazzling light bloomed from Queen Medusa's body, constantly expanding and shrinking, accompanied by a roar. During this period, Gu Fei was not disturbed by the strong light. He closed his eyes and used his soul power to perceive everything happening around him. He clearly saw that above the island, a purple giant snake that was more than 10 feet long was floating. The purple giant snake has a slender and powerful body, with a faint sense of elegant beauty. The lavender pupils are not as ferocious as the snake people that Gu Fei met before, but they are full of tranquility and indifference. During this period, Gu Fei just looked at Queen Medusa quietly without interrupting her. Since Queen Medusa chose this path, she will either be reduced to ashes or evolve into a 7-colored swallowing python. At that time, no matter what the outcome is, Gu Fei will be able to take the azure lotus earth core fire. When Queen Medusa evolved, a melee was taking place in the holy city of the snake people. Gu Fei and Yuan rushed into the holy city of Medusa in the melee with the snake people, and struggled to find traces of the strange fire. Gu Fei is sensitive to the breath of strange fire, but he can't easily distinguish which breath of strange fire is real. Like Gu Fei, they can only search blindly and fight their way out in a holy city full of snake people. It seemed that the densely packed snakemen would never be killed. As soon as they killed a group of snakemen, another group would come out from the corner or the shadow. Gu Fei was keenly aware that these snakemen were probably stalling for time. They were probably waiting for the rescue of the strong snakemen. Gu Fei thought it was not good and shouted directly, "If we can't find the strange fire again, we will evacuate immediately." But the next second, Yuan glanced to the west. "It's too late." Judging from this aura, it's probably another leader of the 8 tribes. Hearing her words, Gu Fei and his companions' faces changed slightly. In the western sky, a red shadow was flying towards the city like lightning. About a minute later, a male snakeman covered in red fighting spirit flashed over the city. He swept his eyes in the air, and finally stopped on Gu Fei and others with a grim face. "Damn you humans, how dare you enter the holy city of our tribe?" This guy is the leader of the flame snake tribe among the 8 tribes, Yan said. Although he has a very hot temper, his strength ranks among the top of the 8 tribal leaders. He is a very difficult opponent. Someone in Gu Fei's group said helplessly, frowning slightly at the snake man who suddenly appeared. Hearing this, Gu Fei frowned, glanced at the other party, and said, "In this way, they have reached 3 Wang." Even though Gu Fei was very well prepared, he felt a little pressure in the face of so many powerful snake people. And here, the purple giant snake set up an energy barrier, and after circling in the sky for several circles, it made a crisp low hum. Then, the giant snake drilled down towards the green flame without looking back. In the strange fire, shrill screams continued to come, and in the green flame, after being high for nearly half an hour, it gradually became weak. At this time, the body of the purple snake, which was originally covered with beautiful purple scales, was now charred. The body of more than 10 feet long was burned to only 2 or 3 feet. It is hard to imagine how many bones and blood were burned by the strange fire in this body. Gu Fei watched closely from the side, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Queen Medusa's perseverance is extraordinary. She can endure such torture. If it were him, I'm afraid it would be difficult to bear such pain. The charred skin on the charred giant snake that fell stiffly on the ground was slowly falling off, as if something was about to break out of the body. Suddenly, a colorful light and shadow quickly flew out of it. Gu Fei saw it clearly. What appeared in front of him was a slender little snake that was only about 2 centimeters long. It was covered with tiny colorful scales all over its body, and its lilac snake pupils had a faint sense of demonic. A strange and fresh fragrance lingered on the body. Although it was just a snake now, it was elegant and noble. Although the little snake did not look too fierce, it was too beautiful. There were not many sharp attacking parts on the colorful little snake. However, Gu Fei knew that this small body contained a terrifying power that even Huang strongmen dared not underestimate. Gu Fei looked at it with interest, and then his eyes turned to the blue flame. He took out the blue lotus seed and threw it over. The blue lotus seed slowly took the blue lotus earth core fire back to the lotus heart. Suddenly, the empty lotus heart position was rising with a strange blue flame. The blue lotus earth core fire was collected and put into the ring, and Gu Fei looked at the colorful little snake. The little snake was also looking at him, and it was eager to rub against his trouser legs. Seeing this cute little thing, Gu Fei reached out and put it in his sleeve. The colorful little snake came out from his sleeve, wrapped around his arm, and rubbed his wrist gently like a spoiled child. It made a faint hissing sound, and when it saw that Gu Fei didn't look at it, it rubbed him gently again. Because Gu Fei was the first person the colorful little snake saw, in the eyes of the little snake, this strange snake with 4 limbs and walking on 2 legs was like its relative. The little snake's purple eyes looked at Gu Fei. The colorful swallowing python has a curious emotion, and the emotion value increases by 50. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Yuan. He saved me again. How can I repay him? Gu Fei was about to touch the little guy's head, but when he heard the system prompt again, his hand movement paused slightly. Queen Medusa has a feeling of surprise and anger, and the emotion value increases by 100. Gu Fei was not really surprised when he heard the system prompt. He knew that there was another soul in the body of the 7-colored sky-swallowing python. Queen Medusa and the 7-colored sky-swallowing python now occupy the same body. However, at this moment, Queen Medusa's soul has not yet taken the dominant position. However, Gu Fei did not pay much attention to this. He treated the soul of Queen Medusa and the 7-colored sky-swallowing python like an ordinary clumsy 7-colored snake. He touched its head when he was happy. When it was naughty, it liked to bite his wrist, and Gu Fei also patted its head gently as a punishment. Queen Medusa has an angry emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Gu Fei didn't care much about Queen Medusa's temper. It was useless to speculate blindly like this. Hope was right in front of him. Gu Fei and his group were killing their way to the temple. Yuan also said with a little hesitation. It was not until the barrier left by Queen Medusa was completely broken that Gu Fei and his party killed their way into the temple. Gu Fei held a pill in his hand and was about to throw it to the person next to him, But he was suddenly stunned. The breath of the strange fire suddenly disappeared, and no one could sense its existence. Even if it changed, he had 10,000 ways to prevent the queen from retaliating against him. At this time, in the holy city of the snake people, Yuan said in a low voice. Outside the temple, the purple light curtain was broken, and cracks appeared in the temple that could not be peeped. With his cultivation, he was not afraid that the seven-colored sky-swallowing python would suddenly turn into Queen Medusa. Slowed down by a group of snake people, Gu Fei and his party struggled to kill the surrounding enemies. The next moment, as the azure lotus earth core fire was taken away by Gu Fei in the temple, the energy fluctuations inside are extremely calm. As for the strange fire, could it be that it was destroyed by Queen Medusa? He stared at the temple where the green smoke gradually dissipated, frowning and said, "Why did the breath of the strange fire disappear? Could it be that Queen Medusa failed to evolve? Damn it, where is the strange fire?" Queen Medusa has murderous emotions, and the emotion value increases by 100. As an alchemist, Gu Fei is more aware of the energy of strange fire. Queen Medusa's breath suddenly disappeared. Gu Fei's soul perception quickly enveloped the entire island. He keenly explored every corner, but still did not find any breath of strange fire. Then, Gu Fei's originally calm face showed a rare trace of anger. There are many other snake people in the holy city, and they found that the breath of Her Majesty, the most powerful queen in perception, has disappeared. The whole city, with the annihilation of Queen Medusa's breath, gradually fell into a deathly silence. After a moment, pairs of hateful eyes turned to Gu Fei and the black-robed man in the air. Finally, a snakeman couldn't help himself and shouted angrily, "Your Majesty!" Gu Fei and his group wanted to leave when they saw that something was wrong, but they were stopped. "Come as you like, leave as you like. What do you think our snake people are?" Yan, who was in a bad mood, looked down at Gu Fei and his group with a flaming aura like a rising flame. Gu Fei's light blue flame swept out, but although the blue flame was powerful, Yan was not afraid. On his face, there was a sneer of disdain. He stretched out his palm and clenched it slightly. The flaming aura on his body suddenly condensed into a flaming palm and shot out violently. The flaming palm wrapped the blue fireball, and the blue flame was crushed. At the first contact, it was obvious that Yan had a slight advantage in strength. "I'll stop them. You go find the strange fire, and then find a way to escape." Facing so many strong people, Yuan could only use the worst strategy. After all, she was the only Huang among the few people. Hearing this, Gu Fei nodded heavily, and then fled quickly under the protection of Yuan. "Get back here!" Seeing the actions of Gu Fei and others, the three Yansi shouted angrily and launched an attack. Yuan easily summoned thousands of blue wind blades, each of which had a terrifying pressure. "Your opponent is me," she said lightly. However, in the stalemate, Yuan's movements suddenly paused. She looked to the northwest and muttered to herself, "Two more people are coming. It seems that I should retreat." The blue wings of fighting spirit behind her spread out, and Yuan turned into a black light and disappeared quickly. She fled to the outside of the holy city of Medusa, but was caught up by them again. The five people surrounded her, but Yuan's fighting spirit was unprecedentedly high. She drew out the long sword. Her figure was as light as a wild goose, and she quickly attacked. Damn it! From Yuan's sudden attack to the time when one of the five snakemen was injured and retreated, it took only a short 10 seconds. When everyone came to their senses, the green-robed snake man, who was among the strongest in the snake man, had already been injured and was running backwards in a panic. "She's too fast, don't fight her alone, use the 5-snake poison seal." Looking at the injured green-robed snake man, the gray-robed old man shouted with a gloomy face. Immediately, at the moment when the 5 people formed the seal, a circle of faint energy shield appeared out of thin air, wrapping them tightly in it. 5-snake poison seal, activate. After a moment, an extremely huge energy column suddenly appeared in the sky. The huge energy column suddenly began to churn, and after a moment, the energy column turned out to be a more than 10-foot-long energy green snake. Yuan and the green snake tangled up, and the snakemen continued to join the battle. The green snake's strength was not that terrible, but it was very annoying. If she dragged it on, I'm afraid that 10 huangs would not be enough to consume it. At this moment, A faint voice came from the sky. I didn't expect that you would step into such a dangerous situation again when we met again. Yuan felt shocked. Emotional value increased by 100. Suddenly, Yuan heard a familiar voice and looked up in disbelief. Just in time, she saw Gu Fei, who was walking in the air, with deep dark eyes. He tapped the air with his finger, and a flame flew out from his fingertips. The huge energy green snake just touched a little flame, rolled violently, and disappeared completely in a few breaths. This combined attack technique was broken, and the 5 wangs of the snake clan suffered a serious backlash. Yin, she felt fear and suspicion. Emotional value increased by 20. Sir, do you want to save this person? Gu Fei glanced at him coldly, and a majestic pressure swept over. The 5 wangs of the snake clan looked at each other, their eyes full of fear. Yan feels fear, and his emotion value increases by 15. Sir, we have remembered today's account. Yan and his men restrained their fighting spirit, said some harsh words, and left with the surrounding snake people in disgrace. Yuan feels grateful, and his emotion value increases by 100. Yuan feels excited, and his emotion value increases by 100. I didn't expect that he would save me again. How can I repay him? After Yuan recognized Gu Fei, her eyes were fixed on him without moving away. Yuan feels grateful and moved, and her emotion value increases by 100. Who is this? He is so young, but he actually has such a terrifying cultivation. In the distance, Gu Fei, who was fleeing in a hurry, of course saw this scene, and his usually calm face once again set off a huge wave. Gu Fei feels shocked and puzzled, and his emotion value increases by 50. Chapter 50. The strength of the snake people. Still vulnerable, the figure hanging in the air gradually became clear, and Yuan's beautiful eyes were shining. For the first time, she felt at ease. Yuan felt at ease, and her emotion value increased by 100. She was the leader of the Yunlan sect, and she had always been the only one to protect thousands of people. She had almost never been protected like today, and the only 2 times were by Gu Fei. What's more, Gu Fei still had a young face and was so strong. Yuan felt grateful, and her emotion value increased by 100. Gu Fei landed beside Yuan, and before he spoke, Yuan opened her lips and sincerely thanked him. Thank you, you saved me again. Yuan felt favorable, and her emotion value increased by 100. Gu Fei smiled at her lightly, and his calm appearance was so different from the domineering person who just protected her. Yuan looked at him with sparkling eyes and took off the hood on her head. Originally, she thought that the 2 of them had no intersection since that separation. Yuan feels nostalgic. Emotional value increases by 100. Unexpectedly, it was Gu Fei who saved her again this time. At this moment, Yuan's good impression of Gu Fei was almost full. This was her second time to experience a hero saving a beautiful woman. Although she didn't understand what emotions were surging in her heart, she wanted to get closer to Gu Fei. However, Yuan was not like Xiao and King Lin, who had no worries and could be brought around. Behind her was a huge sect. It's a small matter. She stared at Gu Fei's face intently. Her eyes were almost greedy, but she hid the joy of reunion after a long separation. The thin long sword was put away by her side, and there was still blood on it. He happened to save her who was seriously injured, and helped her break the seal of the purple crystal-winged Lion King. The 2 had a brief physical contact. During this time apart from Gu Fei, whenever she thought of some things that happened between them in the Warcraft Mountains, all she could think of was Gu Fei. Gu Fei smiled with a calm expression. Without the prompt of the emotional value, Gu Fei would never have discovered the fluctuation of Yuan's mood. The burning palm seemed to touch her back again, causing her heart to shake. Gu Fei was stunned for a moment when he heard the prompt of the system, and his eyes changed slightly. She had too many burdens on her body, which she could not let go of, and could not let go of. Yuan has a heart-moving emotion, and the emotional value increases by 100. Her emotions towards him were not even limited to good feelings, but also had other things. Her eyes were calm, and she stood tall beside him. Her small face covered by the black hood was cold and noble, and her black hair tilted down. Yuan has a joyful emotion, and the emotional value increases by 100. Through the emotional value provided by Yuan, Goof also understood some of her thoughts. Goof did not need to force Yuan to put down everything and follow him. Therefore, after chatting, Goof planned to leave. He and Yuan each had their own things to do, and their fate could only support this short intersection. After that, they would go their own way like two lines that no longer intersected. Goof did not intend to say these words, because he knew that Yuan must understand. She just did not want to understand. The people on the side of the snake people, who were originally very rampant, only looked at this mysterious strong man with fear at this moment, and did not dare to act rashly. After all, Goof's strength was beyond their imagination. Even the 5 fighting kings' joint attack formation, the 5-snake poison seal, was easily broken by this man. Unless the elders of the tribe took action, they would not dare to go up and die. Among them, the older snake leader, Yan Shi, looked at Goof with fear, and then quickly rushed to the holy city. Here, after Goof and Yuan finished chatting, the two were silent for a short moment. Yuan knew that Goof was going to leave, but she could not keep him. Yuan felt reluctant, and the emotional value increased by 100, but she looked at Goof's figure who was about to leave, and suddenly stopped. Yuan is confused. Emotional value increases by 100. Goof's expression did not change, and he whispered to her, "A few old people are coming to support their young tribesmen." Because, just now he felt that the 4 Xun'ers that had been silent in the holy city of the snake people suddenly began to move. Originally, no matter how they fought with the snake people, and how many snake people Gu Fei, Yuan and others killed in the holy city, the 4 Xun'ers had never moved. Goof knew these 4 people very well. They were the foundation of the snake people. However, because these 4 people were old, they would not take action easily. As long as it was not a critical moment, they would just stand by and watch. Because once a big battle, it would inevitably consume their energy. They never took action easily, which was also the reason why the 4 old guys could live so long. Yuan frowned and looked at the sky in the distance. There was the direction of the holy city of the snake people. Although her cultivation had reached the Huang level, she was far inferior to those 4 old guys. Therefore, they could only sense the vague strong and domineering aura approaching rapidly. "We, the snake people, will not be bullied." As a rather sharp voice sounded, the snake people not far away raised their heads, their faces full of ecstasy and respect. These 4 old guys, can they finally hold back and take action? In Goof's sight, 4 snake-old women were rushing out of the city quickly. However, in an instant, 4 extremely oppressive auras approached, and 4 gloomy snake-old women stood proudly in the air, with wings transformed from chi behind them. Their eyes, inadvertently, stared at Goof closely. At this time, Yuan, who was standing next to Goof, murmured in disbelief, 4 Huangs, and the snake people are good at combined attack formations. The combined power of the 4 people is far more than Huang, and can even touch the realm of Zong. This is trouble. Looking at the lineup of the snake people, Yuan's pretty face showed panic. She looked at Goof with some uneasiness. If she relied on herself, she would not be able to fight against these 4 people. On the other side, Gu Fei and his group, who had stopped running because they thought the situation was settled after Goof's move, also changed their faces. The information they had previously found about the snake people did not mention these 4 Huangs at all. Unexpectedly, the snake people's foundation was so huge that there were 4 Huangs, and with Gu Fei's vision, he could naturally see it. These 4 people are not ordinary Huangs, but all of them are the best among Huangs. Any one of the 4 Huangs would be enough to crush the people brought by Gu Fei. Not to mention, there are still many snake people over there. In addition, the snake people from the 8 tribes of the snake people are still rushing here. Gu Fei couldn't help but regret not evacuating in time just now. He sighed secretly, and it would be extremely difficult to get out next. However, when Yuan, Gu Fei and others were worried, Goof's face remained calm. There was no disturbance at all due to the sudden appearance of the 4 Huangs. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.